There are two bodies sprawled on the ground and she wonders what kind of trash they are. They didn't even withstand a single drop of her blood and want to be her servants, so she ordered her minions to take them to the kitchen to become ingredients. The servant says that the laws stipulate that consuming blood privately is a crime. They should be sent to a factory to be processed. Indeed, that's how things are. For humans to have the illusion that they can live well, the bloodline law needs to be this way, making the strong dependent on them, who cannot go against their masters, and turning the weak into ingredients. Her race has controlled the land for a long time. She doesn't even need blood, but the taste is too good to go without. Her next destination is the Emerald City. Someone tries to wake Zhe, saying that today is a big day. The boy pokes the sleepyhead repeatedly. He said that the kid only sleeps, and nothing more, and that if he fell asleep in class again, he would have serious problems. With him awake, he ordered him to come down quickly to attend to the customers. He puts one of his hands on his face, and realizes that things have changed. He is Wang Jie. He has just turned 25, and on this day, his boss stole a project he had done, and his company fired him. He was broke, in debt with the mortgage, and with his father bedridden in the hospital for years, he decided to get drunk by the river. At that moment, he saw a girl entering the water. Worried, he went to rescue her. He managed to prevent the woman from drowning, but having drunk too much, his body thought it would be a good idea to lose strength in the middle of the river. After that, he remembers nothing more and woke up in that bed. It is May of 2077, the year when he was only 18 years old. The boy leaves his room, slamming the door. He rushes down the stairs, wondering if this is really true. Excited, he encounters his father who is working. He warmly hugs him, as his father is well. The bald man doesn't understand anything, but his son says he had a very bad nightmare. A customer complains that he is in a hurry, but the bald man doesn't care, as it has been a long time since his son hugged him. After the emotion passes, he said he would cut the customer's hair and shoot his son away so he could start working too. This customer is annoying and said that if the better salons weren't full, he wouldn't be there, and that if his day got delayed, he would destroy the place. The boy gets irritated by the customer's arrogance, but the bald man says he needs to find a good job. That customer will be interviewed by Miss Yu, a noble of pure blood, and he is one of the promising young men in the city, potentially becoming her dependent. These are concepts foreign to the young man, who was left wondering what they meant. That is not the reality he knew. Looking at his tablet, all he sees are news about how to become a dependent. He has no idea what that means, so he went to see what it means to be of pure blood, who protect humanity from external dangers and are in all leadership positions currently. Not knowing exactly what they are already in control of everything. Humanity is governed by these beings of pure blood, and people are being complicit. He wants to know if this happened after a war or an invasion. As soon as he starts his research, a curious message appears on his tablet, warning that he is food. That is a peculiar being, with 3 eyes on its face. He immediately pressed a button to exit that screen. Now, he sighs a little relieved. He still has no idea what this is, but it is definitely scaring him a lot. The world is very confusing for him. He is sure he has been reborn in a world, but it is different from the one he knew. Putting his hands on the mirror, he doubts if this person is really him, until he noticed there are bite marks at the height of his neck. It seems that it is all really true. He had been bitten at some point, and it was by a vampire, but the mark begins to fade, until it completely disappeared from his skin. In light of this, he rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't going crazy. Turning his back to the mirror, he imagines that his vision might be blurry, and he must have confused things. However, his reflection in the mirror slowly changes, revealing red eyes and a lewd smile. Already outside his house, he is heading to school. His father hopes he will focus on his studies. He is excited that his son studies at a prestigious school, but the boy wants his father to take better care of his health. He reiterated that his father needs to see a doctor soon, as in his past life, he only went to treat his cancer when it was at a terminal stage. The concept of rebirth is strange, but he doesn't want to waste this chance now. This time he wants to live his life until someone calls him a fool. He told him not to get in his way. The androgynous weirdos, who would be the subject of mockery in any serious society, say that this is not a place for him. They are so strange and bizarre that the boy doesn't know if this is real. The weirdos, full of swagger, tell the boy to get out of their way, but he is still perplexed that these clowns are referring to him. He is being treated as an inferior. The clown says once again that this place is for people with genetic classification A or higher. He had seen this somewhere before. Looking at his identification, his classification is C. One of the clowns pushes him, telling him to get out of there quickly. It is an unacceptable reality. He is a victim of people who should be suffering until someone shouts his name. He wants to know if his friend is feeling well and asked him to come with him. That one is not strange to him. The small, bespectacled boy, scrawny and possibly anemic in this world where vampires control everything, is Wenchang. They were from the same college. The scrawny one was dedicated to his studies, while Wang was almost a jerk. All he did was smoke USB drives and chase after women who only looked good after being drunk. As soon as he left college, he discovered that these skills are not valued in the job market. At rock bottom, he messaged his friends who used to go to the club with him, only to find out that none of them were really his true friends. However, the scrawny and nearly blind boy lent him money during those tough times. The last person he expected, to the point that he didn't even know exactly who he was. And indeed, he didn't even know who that scrawny boy was. He hugs him joyfully and says he missed him, while the weirdos who wouldn't last 2 minutes in any serious suburb are in pain. There were many people gathered there, so he asked the scrawny boy who they were welcoming, as it must be a goddess. It is the noble Yu, who went to the Emerald City in search of expanding her family. He had heard about this, that there would even be an interview, but he doesn't know why there are so many interested, as he is unaware of the benefits. But by becoming a blood relative of the family, the human gains supernatural strength and an increased lifespan. Some weirdos say that it's not just that. They want to be nobles and have an easy life. And the first step to that is receiving the grace of the beauty that is noble Yu. The grace process is completed when the vampire injects their blood into their dependents, which for them is a rather exciting process, as she is delightful. And not just that, specifically for humans. Receiving the grace makes them feel the most intense orgasm of their lives. And since Yu is a marvel, that bunch of soft and effeminate men wants a chance with her. Apparently, it is not necessary to be bitten, which is a great relief. Finally, a caravan of cars arrives at the school. A size 42 foot steps out of the car. That is the goddess Yu, for whom the soft ones have been waiting. She is the most important guest in the city. Beside her are the mayor and the academy director. The students look at her, impressed by her beauty. Then he approaches his scrawny friend. What really matters is dedicating oneself to studies and enhancing one's abilities. One thing he learned in his past life is not to depend on others, and being dependent on her is basically the essence of what he does not want. What everyone desires is not what he wants, until they feel something happening behind them. The scrawny boy tries to turn around to see what is happening. Several clumsy ones were pushed around, and the little one is almost hitting the ground with his teeth. To prevent his friend from needing orthodontic intervention, he holds him by his clothes. He prevented him from falling, but an explosion had occurred. The shock wave is dangerous, and he has blood on his mouth. Behind him is a mysterious hooded figure kneeling on the ground. He looks at this figure very intrigued. The hooded figure stands with their face covered. The goddess Yu is not impressed at all, and the mayor says that by a hair, the worst did not happen. She blocked the attack. If it weren't for that, he wouldn't be breathing now. Even though he is obese, he is strong, with a diamond battle level, but that guy is easily stronger. He is definitely an assassin sent here, but he doesn't know if the recent incident is what brought him here. Realizing that the fight is fruitless, the assassin quickly leaves the spot, but is immediately followed by guards who will not let him escape. At least, they don't intend to. Yu questions whether the city's security level is so poor that the assassin could flee, but the mayor says she is the strongest person there. Security for her is symbolic, but she found someone interesting. While others did not protect themselves, he took care of his friend even while spitting blood from his mouth. Now she is dampened. A comedian with horrible hair says he has the greatest genetic potential there and would love to be her servant for the rest of his life. It doesn't take long for all the clowns to bow and make the same request to her. Amid the questions, she asks them if they know why there are genetic classifications. They say that the human body may not withstand adaptation, which is why they are separated this way. There are 5 levels. The higher it is, the greater the chance of success. And he is indeed right. Except that for pureblood nobles, these limitations do not apply. For her, being class E or A is all the same. The success rate of a pureblood is always 100%. That is why they are called nobles, in addition to being the strongest. Receptive genetics is useless. It is not what she needs, for after the blood pact, life begins anew in a way they would not understand. Then she looks closely at the clown with the ugliest hair, who beats his own mother. She does not need a loser by her side. That comment caused him to have an intense existential crisis. He succumbs to his feelings of sadness and decides to end the suffering of living with that bizarre hair. However, someone kicks the knife from his hand, asking him to stop it, but it is a pity they didn't kick his head instead. Life is more than being a servant to someone, and he should think about that. But the boy is surprised by that woman's influence on some people's lives. These people are definitely psychiatric patients and urgently need medication and professional help. The comedian got upset for being prevented from ending what he calls life and charged at the protagonist. But since he is deplorable and mediocre, he fell to the ground by himself, crying like a helpless little child. The scene is pitiful, yet not so much. In light of this, the noblewoman with a haircut popular in the 80s approaches him. She gently touched her lips with her finger, tracing her finger from one end to the other. She tasted his blood and liked it very much, telling him to come to her mansion that night because she wants more. Everyone there is invited to go there at night, as it will be the second test. Whoever can get past him will spend the night in her lair. She can't wait to see them again. The mayor says those who are able should gather at the town hall at night. Those who miss it are out of luck. The crowd of failures is very happy that they will be able to take a second test. While they celebrate, the protagonist is sure that woman is a first-rate predator. The scrawny friend doesn't want to go, but the director says he needs to go too. Coincidentally, he is also his father, even if they don't look alike. While he ordered the injured to be taken to the infirmary, he asked the others to accompany him. Since they will do another test, they also need to go through a new process. They needed to sign a term agreeing not to disclose the content of the test. Additionally, he agrees to the possibility of dying in the process. That liability waiver is simply bizarre. After reading it, he became genuinely concerned for his life. He approached the director and suggested that he would like to withdraw from the test. But for him, it is already too late. He has already been noticed by you. And if he hadn't, he would be disobeying an order. And that would bring severe consequences since he is just an ordinary citizen and she is a pure-blood noble. Behind him, a clown says that the boy could stop pretending, as he has already seen his discontent. It would even be better if he disobeyed. That way, his family would be forced to do hard labor for the next 3 generations. That is definitely a punishment he does not desire. The boy signed his commitment term, as it is an honor to have that opportunity to change his life. The winner becomes a dependent, and those who lose will receive death. He leaves there with other fools while smiling. Now only the 3 of them are left inside the room. Wencheng doesn't know whether to sign or not, and his father asks if he really wants this. He feels weak and doesn't believe he will be able to achieve anything. However, it was already too late for him. He doesn't understand. If it's so dangerous, why do so many people try to take this test? Since he asked, he will speak clearly. Blood dependents have a very high status that no ordinary citizen could have. Vampires can have private armies and do many things. Their dependents are like their emissaries on Earth. It was as if they were feudal lords on Earth with all this power. The world is governed by the 7 royal courts. Under imperial power, authority is divided according to each vampire's strength. And Yu is the daughter of an influential baron who belongs to the imperial court, in case he didn't know. Listening to all this, his hands begin to tremble. The world is no longer the same, and he just wanted to live a normal life. But now, he doesn't have much to do except take the test. He admitted his defeat, will go for the test, and give up quickly to return home. But the director says he shouldn't give up shamelessly, as Yu wants to see a show. This left both boys intrigued. She will see what she desires, and if he can catch her attention, he might even have a happy ending. So, he will try his best and admit defeat when he can, to save his life. The boy asks if his father knows what will happen in this test, but he can't even say. He looks at Wang and says that the boy has some combat skills and hopes he can take care of his son. If he does it this way, he will give him all his family's reserves and gratitude. Embarrassed, he said he can't even protect himself. Imagine a scrawny, useless one. His doubt now is why the director doesn't want his son to become a dependent. Once they become a family member, there is no longer a you in relation to the world. Everything disappears from their mind, leaving only the desire to obey their master. In this way, the person abandons everything that existed before the ritual. This is such a bizarre consequence that he doesn't know if this is still being human. He is a person and doesn't want to lose his individuality by being a dependent. Wang didn't expect this new world to be so different. He just wanted to dedicate himself to work, take care of his father, and eventually have a normal life. But things happened quite differently for him. Yu wants to start the process for free, but he is very shy. Just imagining how it could be, he becomes as stiff as a rock. But the citizen approaches him full of desire, saying she can no longer wait. She throws him onto the bed and says she will start. Meanwhile, he tries to stop her, but his effort was minimal. During the second test, he could have really ended up lifeless. They are welcomed at the mansion by one of Yu's servants. There are 58 candidates, but the maximum number for the other levels is only 20 people. Everyone there is capable, and he hopes they can provide a show for their lady, Yu. Indeed, there are more people than he expected. The director had said there would probably be 3 levels, as one alone wouldn't be able to satisfy her. His intention is to pass the first one only, so he won't be seen as trash, and with 20 being the maximum for the next stage, more than half will fail. The clueless ones are eager to start, as they really want to join you soon. They shout enthusiastically, as that is the reason for their lives. The test had already begun, and all those who made sounds without permission have already been duly eliminated. This left a crowd of clueless ones in shock. The first rule for a dependent is to be obedient and know how to behave. Making noise without permission is disrespectful. Hearing that, they can't disagree with him. In total, 32 people spoke, some of whom were whispering, but there are many eliminated, which would leave only 6 to be eliminated in the next stage, which might not be interesting. Of those 32, only 5 will be selected to proceed in the resurrection battle. This made the clueless ones a little happy. That was what he expected, that there would be enthusiasm. The resurrection battle will be as follows. Everyone will be inside the circle. The last 5 standing will win. Now they can communicate freely. Seeing all this, they think the candidates will start killing each other. It was great that he and his friend hadn't said anything until now. It doesn't take long for the first knife to stab someone in the gut. That is a grotesque scene to witness. Few will be able to continue with the test, and that was the fastest way to reach the final. Armed, he says he will be one of the finalists, and anyone who approaches him will do so only to die, for he is willing to end them all. That guy is definitely crazy. However, with a rifle in hand, a woman wants to know if he is really capable of fulfilling what he said. There are more people there who are armed. Those tests would be harder than he imagines. To be part of this family, one must be able to see blood, of course. After the pathetic scene, there is a lot of blood dripping. Only 5 people remain from this battle. The rest have ceased to live in the process. The woman notices that there is still one there who is agonizing on the ground. She promptly ends his suffering. Finally, there was no one left who was moribund. Master Yu was very pleased with this performance, the butler says, and he asked them to return to their teams. The young psychopaths are quite happy now. In fact, the least crazy among them is a lost cause for any psychiatric hospital. One of them looks at the protagonist, wanting to know why they are staring at him so much, but they just change the subject. He is willing to teach these young students how sinister society is, so they were not supposed to cry afterward. Seeing this, the scrawny one became frightened, for he is now in the sights of those moral degenerates. However, the protagonist tells him not to be afraid. They have passed the first phase. During the next one, they can simply give up, and that's okay. The idea of giving up brought him a bit of peace. With only 31 remaining, the first stage will finally begin. This left them terrified, as it hadn't even formally started, and there were already several bodies in the place. This time, only 20 of them would be able to move on to the next stage. Under the butler's foot, a large crack begins to open. He will say what they must do now. The candidates will need to go fishing. But that well looked more like a trap, and the fish, the monsters. It is a hunt for both sides. A special fishing rod can withstand up to 5 tons of force, capable of pulling those fish. The focus is the bait, which must be the candidate's own blood. Even though it may not seem like it, those fish are a delicacy and are only attracted by the best blood. Anyone who fails to attract any fish is already eliminated. But if the fish bites the rod and the candidate is pulled by it, he will become fish food. A dreadful fate for them. It's that simple. Blood is the bait, and those who cannot catch any are already eliminated. The first test had officially begun. Looking down, he has no idea how he would be able to pull one of those monsters. The rod is especially heavy. It must weigh about 45 kilos. With the weight of the fish, it could rise to almost 140. One participant managed to hook one of them. He pulled so hard on the rod that his clothes began to tear immediately. They were impressed by this strength. The woman says he is just a drug addict, but the protagonist doesn't understand, and she says he is just an ignorant boy. Swollen and well-toned muscles, red eyes, almost having a stroke, and with a clearly disturbed mind, a sign that he used fentanyl with crack. These stimulants increase strength, but as a risk, they can lead to death or permanent madness. That guy surely spent a lot of money on that and managed to catch a fish. For if he becomes an addict, it will all have been worth it. She needs to work hard too, and told the boys to do the same. They finally realized what was happening. There were some there who had already caught their fish. They just need to try as well. So he put a bit of his blood in the container, he threw the bait into the lava and waited. After a few moments, he thought that no fish was interested in his blood. However, movement began to form in the lava, until it started to agitate even more. Several fish began to advance toward the same bait, but the line of his rod did not move. He waits patiently for something to happen. He noticed a subtle movement in his fishing rod. The lava below him was bubbling. It was getting more and more agitated. He had caught something. He had to hold the rod with great strength. He almost fell into the lava, and the scrawny one had to help him with that. Already out of strength, he was quite worried about his friend, and he said not to let go of him for anything. He needed to hold on just a little longer. This made him use all his strength. It wasn't just one fish coming, but several. They struggled to catch the fish. Finally, the creature had been pulled by them. The effort was worth it. It had worked. The scrawny one celebrates, for together they had succeeded. However, he soon realizes that there was something peculiar there. It wasn't just a single fish. Not even the protagonist can believe what he is seeing now. Angry, the fish does not want to leave its lava. Even so, he continues to hold the rod with all the strength he has. Once again, he is almost falling into the lava lake, and the scrawny one is straining to keep his friend from becoming fish food. His effort is so great that his entire face is drenched in sweat. At the bait, several fish are coming. It's too much weight for them. He doesn't have enough strength to catch them all. His hands are almost powerless. His teeth are grinding from the effort he is making. Faced with the problem, he ends up slipping a little more toward the lava lake. The girl watches as that candidate is almost losing his life, while the fish thrash violently due to the quality of the bait. The longer time passes, the less strength they have. Knowing the danger, the scrawny one tells his friend to abandon the rod and save himself. However, he does not want to give up this way. Catching this fish is proving to be much more difficult than he imagined it would be. If he doesn't pull now, he won't be able to later. From straining his arms so much, they are cramping up. And all that effort has taken a toll on his body. He is losing consciousness, until his eye begins to shine with an intense scarlet. In his mind, a peculiar figure has formed, and there is a body at the center. He screams as if he is desperate. Everyone, without exception, watches in disbelief as he pulls all the fish. His effort was worth it. Meanwhile, Yu is in her room, looking out the window. That's not too bad for the guy she has been eyeing. Anxious, she can't wait to eat him. The clueless ones present cannot believe what they are seeing. Those two boys managed to catch 6 fish at once. After the process, they were exhausted. As they watch the fish are flopping on the ground, one of them congratulates them, as he didn't imagine it would be possible to catch so many fish at once. He puts his hands on one of them, but the protagonist tells him to back off. Those who were catching the fish look at him. There is hostility in their gazes. Regaining his composure, he says they should stay away from his fish. They smile and tell him there is no need to be arrogant. He caught many, and it doesn't make sense not to share. The one with glasses says it was the result of their work and that they are trying to steal from them. He knows they want to steal from him. They just haven't done it yet because they don't know if the rules would allow it. Armed, they ask the butler more about what they can do in this situation. He listens to the question attentively. They want to know if they can steal and kill at this stage, and he says that Master Yu values peace, so stealing is not allowed. But Wang has many fish, and modesty is a sign of chivalry since ancient times. Sharing with others is a gesture of humanity, not to mention that if he doesn't do this, he will become a target. After hearing this, he gives a sinister smile. If they want his fish, that's fine. He tossed a fish into his friend's lap. Everyone there is friends, and they should help each other. Hearing this, the clueless ones became a little happier. There is just one single problem. He throws one of the fish back into the lava lake, and said that in this way he was helping them. This way there are more fish in the lake. Irritated, they say that now he is a target, but Wang says that in the end, only one will win. Distributing fish to enemies is foolish, as they will not become his allies afterward. Once again, the extra says that he is arrogant. However, Wang says that there is even more arrogance to come. He lifts one of the fish with his hand. Anyone who kneels and calls him daddy will receive a fish. That is his proposal. He told them to think quickly, as he is already thinking of throwing the fish into the lake, reminding them that only 20 would be approved and that time is passing, and those interested should kneel immediately. Some are hesitant to do it this way, until the first pair of knees hits the ground. A chubby one among them calls him daddy. After doing so, he received a fish from the protagonist. Upon receiving the fish, he said he would kill him as soon as he could, but for him, none of that matters, as he wants to know who else will kneel. They had already killed before, and they had already abandoned their humanity. Because of this, they should become his little dogs now. For him, since they no longer want to be human, that is the least they can do. They threaten him, but he doesn't want to hear any crying or complaints. Only 3 fish are left, and he wants to know who else has knelt down. The others feel a bit anxious, not knowing what to do, until a few more people kneel for him. And each of those who took the fish wanted to kill Wang personally. However, he didn't care about that. His friend thinks that was too much, but Wang says he went easy on them. It was enough to look into the eyes of those psychopaths. In each of their minds, there is only one goal, which is to become a member of Yu's family. They no longer want to be human, so there is no need to treat them with humanity. In fact, they are all just a bunch of trash, and their stench bothers him. Looking at Wang, he realized his friend was acting strangely. It was as if he had become a completely different person. It was as if he had suddenly gone mad, not to mention that he was able to catch all those fish. It even seemed like his body had changed. Blood, hot blood coming from the heart, advancing inch by inch, drenching his whole body in that sensation. This makes it hard for him to control himself. All he desires now is a little more blood. Humiliated in that way, yet unable to react, they are just useless cowards. There is no blood there. Far too regrettable. However, there is a whole fish on the ground. What happened next left the participants perplexed. Wang had pierced one of the fish with his bare hand, leaving the participants even more surprised. With his arm in the creature, he was rummaging through its insides. His eyes shine, as if he is searching for something specific. Little by little, he pulls his hand out of there. In the palm of his hand was an organ. The participants watched everything without understanding, but the butler remained serious. Wang was consuming that organ. His audible bites echoed through the room, and they began to say that he was completely crazy. At this rate, he will end up destroying himself, and the butler reminds them that time is running out. He smiles, while those who still don't have fish hurry. They are all idiots who still haven't realized anything. That fish is something very good. Its flesh is extremely nutritious, and just one bite can greatly increase a person's strength, as well as their endurance. It's ridiculous that they don't know this, and he thinks Wang is doing it instinctively. He even tries to get his friend to eat a bit, as it is very tasty. If it is instinctive, that is a bit scary. He really is a potential winner. One of the dimwits approaches the butler to ask a question. He wanted to know if he could do the same with them. The butler answered positively. Then, using his knife, he made some cuts to consume its flesh. This ended up impressing him. Not everyone there was an idiot. Some can learn. They finally reached the number of 20 participants. Many died in the process, and their goal is to abandon the competition now. He thanks Wang because they can now leave safely. But Wang didn't even care about what his colleague had said. The young man is completely transformed. He is so focused on the competition that his colleague finds him strange. He looks at the others who are still competing. Among them, there are several who are clearly mentally disturbed. They are looking at Wang in a threatening manner. Without being intimidated, he began to remove his jacket, throwing it on the ground as soon as he takes it off. Provocatively, he pointed his middle finger at them. Wenchang says there is no need to provoke them, but they were the ones who started this first. Those people are in a group, and a good part of the 20 already knew each other before the test. In fact, there are also those who advance in a solitary manner. He should have thought about that. Some of them are armed, as if they already knew the rules. Some humans, after becoming dependent, use their power to benefit their families. These people are wicked and organized. Wenchang thinks this has nothing to do with them, but Wang asks if he didn't look them in the eyes. No matter how the second stage goes, they will attack as if they were in a group, and they will certainly try to kill him first. Frightened, the scrawny one suggests they should just give up then. The fat one says it is too late. If any of them win, crushing them later will be like dealing with an ant. And the fat one is outraged for having been humiliated with the fish. In front of the dependents, he is just a human of inferior race. They, on the other hand, are members of the same family, with noble blood in their veins, having received training from an early age to become dependents. That is why they are unscrupulous and kill without any remorse. Once again, he tells Wenchang that these people are no longer human. A person who abandons their humanity does not deserve to continue living. They smile at the comment, as they do not believe he can kill them. The hairy guy says that this guy is crazy and that they should focus on the other lone wolves. Besides them, there are other people with insider information for the test. In light of this, they should be cautious with them. The fat guy turns to the hairy guy and says that he is the strongest among them and hopes he doesn't forget the real ones when he becomes a dependent. In the hall, they want to know how the second stage will be. Regardless of how it will be, he tells Wenchang to give up immediately, but he is worried about his friend. He needs to continue, because whether winning or losing, those clowns will come after him, but at least he will kill all those people before they try anything. Hearing this, the boy with glasses said that his friend sounds very scary. In fact, he scares him more than the others. So, he asked what was wrong with him, and he can't even say what it is, only that he feels his blood running. But there is an intense hatred growing, almost as if it is consuming him. The second stage is about to begin, and only 3 of them will be able to continue competing. The format of this competition now will be that of the Lost Building, a structure with 99 floors. You herself will be waiting for them on the top floor, and with that, they will have a chance to become a dependent. There are elevators in the building, but the last 9 floors only have stairs. He says that Mrs. Yu expects to see their courage in this stage of the test. The candidates are very enthusiastic. On a piece of paper, they should write the floor number they want to start the test, from 1 to 89. Since they can choose the floor, the chubby one is deep in thought. If everyone starts from the first floor, there would only be chaos, and Mrs. Yu wants to see a bit of drama. For the obese one, the 89th floor is the only obvious choice, but everyone will choose that which will make everything chaotic. He asks his companion how they should choose the floors. Gathered together, they try to think of a strategy that increases their chances. The boy with glasses sees them as unbeatable and wants his friend to give up with him, but they won't do the stage together, for a simple matter of inferiority. Hearing this, the boy with glasses can't believe they are starting to have internal fights. They are disunited. The fat guy asked him for a fish instead of asking for help from his own. They are all selfish. They are already thinking about how to kill each other. Indeed, this is quite plausible. He then asked which floor Wang would choose, but he had already made up his mind. On his ticket, he said he wants a random floor. Even the butler acknowledged that the boy is really quite brave, because with that, he could be placed right on the 89th floor, which will be complete chaos. Not knowing what to do, the butler asks one of his colleagues what day of the month it is. Since it was the 17th, that will be the floor where he starts the test. With Wenchang's withdrawal, everyone had already chosen their floors. Now Lang Yu is waiting for them. With a gesture of his hand, he initiated the stage. Circles began to appear beneath each of their feet, until an intense blue glow started to form. They are being teleported to the floor they chose. Immediately, they begin to fly and everything starts to go dark. Finally, he is inside a room, and he felt that there was no more movement, so he must be still. Immediately, he opens his eyes to look around. He is on the 17th floor. Heading towards the stairs, he realizes that for now he is safe. However, a man is watching him from the shadows. He notices that someone was hiding there. His eyes focus on that stranger. He approaches Wang quickly. The young man is armed with a fire extinguisher. He tried to hit him, but ended up missing. Not willing to stay there and find out what will happen, Wang starts to climb the stairs. However, the weirdo continues to follow him. He prepares to use the extinguisher once more, but unexpectedly, Wang kicks him in the middle of the chest, causing him to fall down the stairs. He carefully observes his attacker. He noticed that the fire extinguisher is not far from him. With it in hand, he prepares to do a little mischief. The fallen young man is terrified and begs him to have mercy. He says he knows he is wrong and repeats several times that he has surrendered. This makes Wang put the extinguisher aside. He looks at the young man, and slowly a red glow fades from his eyes. Still terrified, he realizes he is safe and that there must be something wrong with this young man. His body has been heavily trained to absorb impacts, but that kick was so strong that he felt as if his body had been broken. It was pure brute force. Wang looks at him and asks if the young man is not on one of those small teams, and if there is nothing he wants to share now. Going up the stairs, he is already heading to the 19th floor. With this brief interaction, he obtained sensitive information. In this team, there are 10 people divided into 5 groups, spread across the floors to hinder the progress of others. Upon reaching the 20th floor, he prepares himself, as according to the information he obtained, he should be protected by someone. He carefully advances up the stairs, but so far, he hasn't found anyone. With that, he ends up sighing in relief. Even as a team, the strategy is useless. Those who are far below have no chance of victory. The last 20 floors are the most dangerous, as almost everyone will be there. He continues moving forward while walking slowly. He does not wish to be dependent and also does not want to give up, so he chose a random outcome. Rationally, he thinks this is a bad choice, as he is just an ordinary person, but his sensitivity makes him want to reach the top and destroy them all. His head is confused with these feelings. His head hurts, and he does not see what is formed in his hand. He finally realizes that something strange is happening to him. His eyes tell him that something is about to happen. His perception of things is different now. A stranger approaches him from above, in a hostile manner. From behind him, another person is approaching. This young man is using a hypnosis technique, which he can do because of his S-class genetics and can dominate people with inferior genetics. With enough slaves, he will impress Lady Yu. After making his attack leap, he grabs Wang by the shoulders and tries to use hypnosis on him to make him do as he says. But Wang looks back with red veins all over his face. This left that participant shocked. He cannot say what this is, and his throat is already being constricted. Wang believes he is the reason his body is like this, to which his aggressor denies. He says it was all a misunderstanding while getting hit and thinks that his hypnosis did not work on him, making him not believe that his genes are inferior. Outraged, he demands that he remove those red things immediately. Agonizing, he says that he did not do this, as his hypnosis only subjects people to his control. To defend himself, he says it is useless to go against him and that they should form an alliance to continue climbing, but Wang strikes him once more. Filled with pain, the young man falls to his knees until he collapses, as he has lost consciousness. The red veins continue to proliferate and pulse throughout his body. He slowly brings one of his hands to his face, touching his lips. Then he bent down towards the young man's neck. His mouth approached him while salivating intensely. That was when he realized he was doing something far too unusual. Coming back to himself, he pulled away from the body, incredulous at his own actions. On the ground and frightened, he cannot say what he was doing. He breathes heavily while still observing the scene before his eyes. But when he looks again at the neck, he feels his vision change. His mouth begins to salivate once more, until he slaps his own face, imagining that he must be going crazy. This made him run away down the stairs. Contrary to what was expected from the test, he descends the floors. While running, he remembers the barber shop his father owns. Being distracted, he missteps during his descent, falling face first to the ground. After the impact, he remained still for some time. The impact had been strong enough to knock him unconscious. The veins begin to disappear, and his hand has some spasms. He brings his hand closer to his own face. Gathering his strength, he managed to stand up once again. Now, he looks up at all the floors he would need to traverse. The expression on his face is unnatural, and he says he is hungry. Very hungry, enough to want to grab a snack soon. Someone reports to their boss that they have all the preparations in place to ensure her safety. The last attack had been against the mayor, and not against her as some thought. Finishing the call, she asks how much time is left, and the process is almost complete. No matter what they do, participants always start fighting in groups on the 89th floor. Everyone is afraid of exhausting themselves quickly, but they do not want to lose their position. Some rely on intellectual planning, and others on action and luck. There are those who pretend to be weak and kill their companions, or those who hide their trump cards until it is necessary to show them. And there are still those who trust in their own strength from the beginning. Because of this variety of strengths, you will be able to have the best show possible to watch. Looking at the footage, he wonders where Wang is. So, someone starts looking for him. They finally find him, and he is almost reaching the 89th floor, which is basically the eye of the hurricane. As soon as he arrives on the floor, violence is underway. He simply watches as more and more people die. In front of him, the others do not stop fighting. Between him and access to the upper floors, there is a war zone, but he remains completely calm. Those in front of him are completely transformed. One of them tries to attack him with a metal bat, but he misses, as Wang had skillfully dodged. Two others try to block his advance, but they also cannot even touch him. Wang had passed through much of the conflict unscathed. There were only two more separating him from his destiny. They immediately realize that a third person is approaching. It is Wang who has reached them, casually passing between the two as if he had nothing to do there. Angry, the long-haired one says that only one person will pass those stairs, and that person is him. The girl warns him, saying that this knife is poisoned, but it was already too late. She had prepared the poison for him, but will waste her trump card on this unsuspecting fool. She is close to stabbing him, but even before she can touch him, Wang's silhouette has disappeared, leaving the long-haired one in shock at what just happened. For not only was his attack avoided, but now his fist is being held firmly. Wang is there, and they do not understand how he did it. With a quick movement, he managed to disarm him. Now it is he who possesses the poisoned knife. Completely sadistic, he takes a big lick of the blood-stained blade. A shocking scene that leaves the other two quite confused. That is far too little. It is hard to feed like this. The best are higher up. He is getting closer and closer. Knowing that there is something ahead, he is ready to eat whatever is there. Finally, he takes the first steps on the stairs. Behind him, the girl watches him, still not understanding. Speechless, she contemplates that stranger continuing on his path with the knife. As she is no longer being hindered by the long-haired one, she also climbs the stairs. He finally realizes that two are already in front of him. If he wants anything still, he must climb the stairs too. But before he reaches the stairs, he notices that people are approaching him. They are the other candidates, who are completely out of control. He does not know why they are so frantic, as some of them were his companions. With one of his hands, he tries to grab onto the wall, but he is soon overpowered by his attackers. His blood flies through the air, like that of an animal. The lighting in the place changes, and moonlight enters through the window. What remains in the hall are bodies and blood everywhere. They pile up at the foot of the staircase leading to the top of the tower. A barrier has formed, blocking the passage through there. He climbs the stairs in front of him, injured. In his hand, some fingers are missing, as they had become someone's snack. He needs to become a member of the Blood Clan. Someone tries to contact Yu, telling her that the three have already been selected, and she thanks for the service of the previous dishes, as she is very satisfied, especially the last fight. Watching it was a delight. Despair and desire are the best spices. Now the three main dishes are coming, and she wonders what they will deliver to her. She is really looking forward to it and wishes the party to continue. In the hall, a pleasant music echoes. There are some people dancing, and masks cover their faces. A band with classical instruments plays the music. They are arriving. They are waiting for the people. It has begun. They have arrived in the hall. Once inside, they are greeted for having arrived at the Wandering Ball. A large-scale familiar selection. The long-haired one wants to know what that is and where Mrs. Yu is. The voice tells him not to worry, as she is disguised as one of those dancing women. As a future servant of hers, it is unacceptable that he does not know her, so she announces Chen Da. Soon after, she says the name of Huo Feng and of the last participant, Wang Zhe. She congratulated everyone for reaching the final test, which is to find Mrs. Yu among all those people. She may be the most beautiful among them, or perhaps the one wearing a mask behind the curtain, even dressed as a waitress, serving drinks. There will only be one chance. As soon as he discovers her, he must ask her to dance, and the real you will guide him to the last room. But if he is unable to find the real one, he will become vampire food and will be eviscerated and become a feast for all of them. Thus, it is good that they do not make the wrong choice and end up as cannibal food. This challenge leaves them frightened, with the exception of Wang. The test began, they must choose their dance partners in just 30 minutes. Faced with this challenge, the hairy one doesn't know what to say. The girl smiles and says she knows what he must be thinking. To kill the other two, that way he will ensure his victory by finding the true one. It's a good idea. And showing him weapons, she asks if he knows why she hasn't done that yet. Because he cannot defeat Wang, and she will use the hairy one as a shield to preserve her life. He curses at her, irritated, but she leaves, telling him to follow the rules, as she was giving him a chance. But it's all part of her plan, as she will kill him when it's all over and everyone there, with the bomb she has inside her body. Traitor. It's an organization that eliminates traitors who have lost their humanity. The mayor saved his life, but not for long. Humans are controlled by the Blood Clan, and have long been resigned. But there is a small group of people who refuse to submit to them. They believe there will be a turning point, and the fate of humanity will change. Surely that's what she believes. The women start to get anxious for them to try to discover the true one, as they want to snack on them. One of them pulls the hairy one, asking him to choose her soon. They tease him, saying he is too anxious, and the girl says he is an idiot. They try to do the same with her, but she promptly ignores them. However, putting her hand on her head, she began to feel nauseous. From above, she is happy with the banquet. As with the protection laws for humans, it's hard to hunt and create moments like that. Her servant wants to know if she is okay, as her candidates for dependents are there, but she doesn't care, as she prefers to share the meal with her own. They will never find her up high, and below, it is filled with the charm of her clan. A normal human wouldn't be able to keep their mind in place. Even so, they notice that one among them isn't so bad. She always has the impression that he will surprise her at any moment. At that moment, Wang felt he was being watched by someone, which surprised Yu as she noticed he had realized. Immediately, he was already climbing the stairs to find her, until he managed to grab one of her arms. He had finally found her. Faced with this, she asks if he is sure, and if he isn't afraid of having found the wrong person. But there is no mistake. Her flavor is unique, and since he is hungry, he will have to devour her, unfortunately. Hearing this, she wants to skip the dance, as she is also very hungry. In fact, she is curious to know how he will eat her, as she has built up expectations. Thrown on the ground, the hairy one realized that someone had already found the true you. It's impossible. He doesn't accept that he has lost. The girl also realizes that Yu has been found, but the bomb hasn't been detonated yet, and she wants the bomb to explode soon, until a hand approaches her waist. While she wonders why the bomb hasn't detonated, the person behind her says that this is a very safe place, which blocks all signals. In that place, there is no room for resistance. Shocked, she lets her weapon fall, while those surrounding her say she is a delicious little girl, and that there is still plenty of time to keep playing. Yu is with the supposed winner of the exam lying on her bed. Full of malice, she says she will start now, and he says he will do the same. While she is mounted on him, she admires his audacity, as he is the first to sleep in this bed with her. After the grace process, he will surrender to her body and soul and fall in love, becoming her toy. She is the queen who can give him all the glory, and she bit his neck. She ended up loving his flavor, as it was intense and had a strong impact. The taste of that is splendid. She is completely flushed, and she is practically falling in love with him. While she thinks the sensation is incredible, she cannot hide the lustful feeling that fills her body, as she is quite the temptress. She can't wait to sleep with him and make this moment special. She can even visualize him paying alimony. Pulling her closer, he asked if she found it good. She thinks he is strange for the grace ceremony not being over yet, but she confirmed that it is still early and that she will do many things. She said she would now suck him a little until she turns him inside out, just to start. Now it was up to him to enjoy this fortunate moment, as she would take it very slowly. However, she reminded him that the boy said he would eat her with desire. Placing her hands on his hips, she wanted to know if he was afraid of keeping his promise. Quickly, he brings his hand to her face, and said he would devour her, of course. In this way, he sank his teeth into her little neck. The poor girl made a face as if she wasn't being bitten, despite the surprise. While he immobilizes her, she doesn't understand why he has fangs. She tries to struggle a bit, asking him to let her go. She makes a little more effort to try to get away, but she isn't very engaged in it. The pleas for him to stop are pure rhetoric. It's a strange sensation. She even thought she was being marked. This shouldn't be possible, as she is the benefactor in this case. She is the master, but now she feels like a passive servant. As night falls, she screams for him to get off her neck. Her trembling legs can do nothing at this moment. Her face is flushed, and she is weak. She tries to free herself from him while her body has delicate spasms. The girl is damp. If there were problems in her life, she doesn't remember them, as all she desires now is to live in the moment. She has no idea what that wonderful sensation is. It was the greatest pleasure she has ever felt in her life. There were no precedents for this. She clings to him with her hands so he won't pull away. Finally, the bite had ended, but she is insatiable and still wants more. The young man is a bit dazed hearing this. Embarrassed for having asked for more, she apologizes to him. He pulls away from her, and the girl positions herself on her hands. She called him Dear Master and introduced herself as his faithful and dependent servant, Ling Lang Yu, wishing for him to continue the ritual of grace. This makes him smile slyly, as thanks to her blood, his thoughts are clearer. Even though she is an ordinary pureblood, he will accept her. She is grateful because now she is his slave and wants him to give her a name. He made it clear that he won't put his name on her. That is outdated. He will leave a blood mark since this is a special situation. Thus, he placed his finger on her forehead, which made the girl very happy. With a mark on her forehead, she thanks her master. She had never felt so good before and is unable to abandon her master now. She asked how he looks so weak, as because of that, she ended up judging him poorly. Seriously, he says that this is not something she should know. Trembling, she begs his pardon for saying that. He needs to rest now, leaving the rest to her body, as he is her other half and subject to her loyalty, to which her servant agrees without question. As she doesn't want to draw attention, she will present herself as dependent on him. Now she will sleep, as falling asleep drains her energy. Closing her eyes, she enters the deepest sleep. She watches him sleeping, in love, and can't wait to have two masters with different personalities. But the other one has no memories of what happened and doesn't want to scare him. However, she thinks she has a good strategy for that. Little by little, he begins to wake up. His eyes slowly open. Rising from the bed, he feels that his head is hurting. Sweating cold, he realizes that someone is behind him. She congratulates her dependent for being selected and asks him if they should start making a mess. Looking at him, she asks what is happening. She wants to know if he doesn't want to have fun with her. The young man thinks something is wrong as he is still sleepy. He tries to leave, but the door won't open, and she says that if he doesn't come now, then it would be her who would take the initiative. Fearful, he pulls his arm out of her reach. The young man is terrified of what might happen. All coy, she asks if he is rejecting her and if he doesn't want to become a member of the blood clan. This makes him clench his fist, fearful, but this only made her more interested, as it seems he wants to resist until the end. He said he would rather die than become someone's puppet and lose all his will. If that's what he thinks, he is wrong. When someone stronger becomes the master, there is no resistance at all. There is only pleasure, the pleasure of having found a home, a safe harbor. In light of this, she doesn't want him to be so engaged in resisting, and she even has a suggestion, but she wants to know if he wants to hear it. Outside, there are many photographers, a caravan of cars parks. In the newspaper, the news is that it has been 10 years since a pureblood selected a human to be his dependent, hence all the commotion. At that dinner among authorities, the noble Lang Yu will bring her dependent, and everyone wants to know who this fortunate one is. She gets out of her car while a servant helps her. Others from her clan call her crazy for having chosen a human as her dependent. They do this as a way to stabilize power, selecting humans from influential families, thinking she was just playing around a bit. But they are curious to know who this person is. This anonymous human who had been chosen. Soon they are seen walking together, as if they were a couple. People take several photos, impressed by her. Some fans jump uncontrollably, making the lives of the security guards more difficult. As she walks to her destination, they shout her name. Those fools are impressed by what they are seeing, wondering if that young man is her dependent. He has a very ordinary appearance and doesn't seem to have anything special. They know he is just a Class C, and that his family owns a barbershop. They have no idea why he was selected. It must have been politics, as the purebloods always end up selecting vassals from the most traditional human families. That's why she traveled the country looking for her dependent, and in the end, chose an anonymous weakling. Thus, he is disposable, and she can choose another when this one perishes. They are already seeing him as a consumable item, thinking he is mediocre, but she asks him not to lose courage and to look at the cameras with a smile on his face. He will be the headline of the day. Pretending to be her dependent will be his life mission. He will need to behave. But smiling in this situation is strange. He is the target of everyone and can only take one step at a time. They continue walking toward the palace. A weirdo greets her, and she thanks him for the invitation as well as for the greeting to her father. He looks intrigued at her dependent. He feels his chi overflowing. Perhaps it's because of the ritual that just took place. an energy identical to that of his mistress. He is certainly her dependent. An old man says that young people act smart and that this prevents them from achieving greatness, and she thanks her uncle for the advice. He told her that she is being watched. Many people are disappointed with her choice because, for everyone else, he is weak. He pointed to the stairs and said that there is someone who can't wait any longer. The blood clan is somewhat inconvenient, and those are dependents too. Looking at him, she wonders what he will do about it. And he also doesn't know what to do, as he is just an ordinary person without power. However, she says that if he can get rid of them, she will reward him by teaching him how to gain supernatural powers. This proposal left the young man shaken, as the only bad power is having little power. Genetically superior humans can develop this type of power. The two dependents approached them, offering to help her dependent. He had seen this with his own eyes. This happened that time at school, and that other time too. Meanwhile, he looks at the two who don't like him. He can't remember what had happened, nor how he ended up in Lang Yu's bed. They tell the young man not to be a fool, as his mistress won't save him now. It's impossible. The night of the dependents is something they all have to do as soon as they join the clan. Customs and manners, everything must be completed that same night. Opening the curtains, she said that no one can stop the ritual instituted by the royal court, and they push him inside. On the inside, someone calls him a rookie. The elderly woman asks Wang to take a seat at the table, and to do it quickly. As he sits down, she says she is the senior and the executive director of that night of dependence. Before the dance happens, the new dependent needs to go through this ritual, and with everyone gathered, it was time to begin. She asked them all to start repeating a prayer with her. The composition is too bizarre, and they all follow repeating what the elderly woman says. They are dependents, the humble and loyal servants. That bizarre ceremony gives him chills. This is the acceptance ceremony for the rookie, and as soon as she calls him by name, he ends up getting startled. A waiter approaches him. But what intrigues him is what is being served to him. They are going to have a meal, but he doesn't know what it is. Being watched, he hopes it isn't made of people. Very apprehensive, he starts to cut the steak on his plate. However, he is still fixated on the possibility that it might be made of people. Before he could face a difficult choice, the waiter takes the plate away from him and brings it to the head of the table where the elderly woman is sitting. She promptly takes a piece with her fork, putting it in her mouth voraciously. The young man just observes the curious scene. It is aged sheep meat and it is very tasty. The old woman bangs on the table, startling the young man. She started ringing her bell during the sacred communion, thanking the great blood king, for it is by his grace that they can all be there today. Nofreo is the name they all repeat as they toast. Beside him, a man asks what he is waiting for, as he should eat soon. Those ingredients, besides being fine, are rare, and there are rules that prevent human captivity. In the past, virgin blood and newborn flesh were used. He said that later he would take him to see cool things, as his master is close to Ling Yu. Even if not everyone likes him, his personal position is to help him. He said that to be a dependent, he must endure stress, and that beyond that, there are no greater difficulties, as the master is also protection. When everything is over, he will take him to a quiet place. The ritual is for him to see himself as belonging to a superior race and to abandon his human traits. And he pointed at him while taking the contents of the cup. He said that soon he would be addicted to the taste. It is simply madness, all of that. They are all crazy without exception. A night of madness and arrogance, a carnival built on human suffering. This position for him is almost unbearable. It is almost time for the next stage, so she asked him to bring her soon. Very happily, some ask if there will be a sacrament that day. Because of Lang Yu's status, they would do that, even if it is a bit against the rules. This only leaves him even more surprised, as she is just a little girl. He does not know what they will do with her, but the old woman asks them to begin. A light highlights the girl and Wang. Not knowing what to do, he positions himself defensively. Looking up, he wonders what is happening. The others were flying through the air. The old woman speaks loudly about the sacrament, but Wang still does not know what that is, and the girl behind him remains silent. He looks back and realizes she is standing. Her expression is cold, almost serene. In one of her hands there is something resembling a dagger. He is stunned by what he is seeing. The girl prepares to cut one of her wrists. She begins to make the cut, letting the instrument fall to the ground along with her blood. From above, the dependents watch that hungrily. She offers it to Wang, who is slightly disgusted. With tears in her eyes, she asks him to enjoy it. Her wounded hands do not stop bleeding. The old woman urges him, saying he must finish the ceremony quickly. But for the others, it is somewhat obvious. He is just a coward. The ceremony serves to remind the dependents that they are no longer human. If he does not complete the ritual, he will not be recognized by the association of dependents and will replace the human as the next sacrifice. These words rattled his mind. A dependent is no longer human, and he asks if they want to drink that. For them, the better the blood, the rarer it is. Humans are merely the base of the food chain. Being a dependent does not prevent him from being food for someone, as the clan values the strongest. Thus, he realizes that even those who belong to the clan become food. They are always just that. They say it is right. And even being a dependent of a pureblood, he is no match for them. He should recognize his position, as they can end him and turn him into a snack at any time. This is a cruel truth. Dependents are just humans with some privileges, but they are still food. The entire ritual also aims to show this truth to the initiates. He wipes the girl's tears. That is very annoying, and he only wishes one thing for all of them. He wants to crush each one of them without exception. Outside, Lang Yu is being introduced to some people. The young man greets her. His family is not pure blood, but they have 75% purity. He wishes he could dance with her, but she promptly refuses him. His mother says that she does not like to dance and that her son should invite her to sit and talk. What the sweet girl desires is for her son to marry her, to elevate the status of her family. The rumors are that Lang Yu's father is losing ground in the court to the emperor. By choosing a human to be her dependent, she is fighting against political forces. If she is smart, she will accept the marriage, and they are discussing trivialities while the overweight woman observes. He would like to introduce himself to her, but Lang Yu is very distracted. She said she is worried about her dependent. Indeed, it may be difficult for him, but she said she could call him there, as the ceremony of the day is a friend of hers. But her concern is for the other dependents, as this could upset their respective masters. Intrigued, he asks if her dependent could do this to them. As with the recent ritual, they do not fully inherit their master's power. It is necessary to practice to develop this power, and everyone at the ceremony are veteran dependents. Even if he were a genius, he couldn't do this. But she says he is not that. He is much more than a genius. He is the king himself. This leaves the young man surprised, but she says she is joking and hopes to one day see the king of all 7 kingdoms, the existence they cannot look at directly. Everyone wants to see the king, but only the governor of each province can do so, and he said that if she marries him, she could become the governor. Before she could respond, someone says that something happened inside, something bad, and she says they should see together what had happened, for it seems that her dependent is having problems. As soon as some arrive there, they are surprised by what they see. Everyone is on the ground, and Wang is holding a girl in his lap. They want to know what he had done to the others, but he did what any human would do. Those traitors deserved to die. So he beat each one of them, without exception. He spared not a single one. Those traitors went to find out if God exists. Seeing the bodies on the ground, he began to think. It was like last time. His head is very confused. The only clear thing is the feeling of his fists hitting something. That was too strange for him. He hadn't thought about it before, but it was odd when he managed to catch the fish, just like the bite marks he saw on his neck, or that irrational power he possesses. He doubts if he is still human. One of them is extremely angry about what Wang Jie had done to the dependents there, but Lang Yu steps in and tells the elder to behave in front of her. However, he is furious because his dependent had been brutally beaten. Others say it was just a fight between toys and that his dependent was unable to subdue a rookie who evolved just a few days ago. Looking at her, he swallows his anger. The dependent is still agonizing, saying she has been with him for 50 years and has done a lot for him. Even so, he ends her life, calling her a useless thing. After that, he looked at Lang Yu to see what she has to say about it. She pretends not to understand, and the old man says she has no control over Wang. Now, it would be up to her father, Qi Yu, to resolve this personally. The castle had been sealed from the outside, and since there are more vampires who lost their dependents, they will wait for Qi Yu's arrival. Everyone wants to find her father, and dinner has also been prepared for her to go there. She took her phone since they want to find him so much. She told him to come quickly, as she is suffering abuse from several people. Lying on the couch, she told them to wait for her father's arrival, which made them very anxious. Then she called Wang to her side, for she wants him to give her a massage, which left the young man quite surprised. She placed the girl in the armchair and positioned herself near her master, who was facing away from him. Touching her lightly, Lang Yu asked him to do it harder. This made her very happy, as it was too comfortable. Seeing the scene, the police chief was upset. The young man beside him said that not long ago he was on a blind date with her. He commented that even if her father faced political resistance, he is still a noble of pure blood, and the conflict is growing, almost reaching the scale of the king. Even together, they have no chance against the superiors, but if they divide them, it's a different story. Imagining a pureblood makes them salivate. Wang is uncomfortable, and Lang Yu wants to know what he is thinking. In her mind, she wishes the massage were even more intense, for she likes when she notices Wang shy or embarrassed by what she does. That is a private space of consciousness between dependent and master, created through her spirit. Outside, no one knows what is happening. Hearing this, he becomes anxious, as he did not think he was her dependent. He wants to know if she bit him and if he is still human. Very upset, he thinks she is lying to him. This made him sad, not only because of the lie, but because he is no longer human. But she advances towards him. Her father is coming, and with his strength, he will soon discover everything. Wang needs to hurry and start cultivating soon. Even she needed to strengthen herself, but Wang wants to know what kind of cultivation she is talking about. She asked him to get off her, as there are several people watching everything, and that she is completely crazy for doing something like that. But Lang Yu is completely intoxicated by a lascivious feeling. Relentlessly, she squeezes her body with her ample attributes. Wang feels that the Soviet attack is brutal and his defenses are ineffective. With one hand, she asked if he is feeling the heat. He feels the energy being guided, and it leaves him unstable. Now it was up to him to try to control that energy. She tries to guide him on how to handle this energy, as if it were a sheet, needing to make it concentrate. That is his potential, which exists within everyone. The act of becoming strong is to increase the content of this sheet. Understanding the rules, oneself and others is what contributes to victory or defeat. On his sheet, nothing is written, which is why he can only use brute force. Filled with temptation, she says that if he gives her a kiss, she will teach him how to use the sheet, but he protects his innocence. Closing his eyes, he concentrates on how to write powers. He imagined that he had a pen in his hands. Immediately, the large pen began to touch the paper. The touch of the instrument on the paper began to release an intense energy. It started to glow, as if shining even brighter. This left him extremely surprised. To his complete misunderstanding, what was a sheet had turned into a refrigerator. Thus, he ended up panicking, but his companion says that with a kiss, she would explain everything to him. Even if she doesn't know how to explain why it is this object and not another, at least there was a change. The power within him, even if it is little, seems like he can control a bit of it. Watching him, the vampiress can't help but find him adorable. The power pages of people usually have the same source. They even tend to follow a pattern. She had never seen a three-dimensional object to represent that, while he tries to open the refrigerator, unsuccessfully. That is truly amazing, and she increasingly recognizes that he is indeed worthy of being her master. However, she has no idea what a refrigerator is. Looking at that object, she thinks it might be a bit dangerous. Meanwhile, outside, the others watch him, irritated. He seems a bit different since he started the massage. Outside the mansion, a storm forms, with several red lightning bolts. Filled with fear, they realize that someone is approaching. An intense glow can be seen in the sky, and a gray-haired figure approaches them quickly. The person coming crashes hard to the ground, causing a wave of destruction throughout the place, throwing some unsuspecting people away. The one who arrived is Chi Yu, the father of the vampiress. Besides destroying the shield made by the complainer, he destroyed his palace, but Chi Yu didn't even notice there was protection there, as it was like paper. As for the castle, he doesn't regret it at all, as it was too ugly and did not please his aesthetic preferences. The same can be said for the people. They are so ugly that they make his eyes bleed. Hearing this, the complainer asked him to be more respectful, while the overweight woman heard that he was toxic, but she didn't imagine it was to this extent. Getting straight to the point is also part of his aesthetic, and he already wants to leave that unpleasant place, so the vampiress calls for her father. She warmly hugs him, and he says that seeing his daughter has even made his mood sweeter now. As soon as he hugs her, he notices something. The taste of her body has changed. There is something in her blood, and hearing this made her worried. He wants to know what happened to his perfect princess, and she quickly says that she is a dependent. Pulling Wang close, she says he is dependent on her and instructed him to say hello to their father, who didn't understand why he should call him father. Looking at the young man, he places a hand on his shoulder. It was simply too ugly. It made his eyes hurt. While they talk, the complainer says he is fed up and that they are not there to entertain Chi Yu's family. His daughter's dependent disrespected them, and if he didn't compensate them, he better not even think about leaving that place. As he said this, behind him, the rest of the building began to collapse. Looking around, they realize that there is no longer any building, just rubble. They now want to change the subject after that. His battle rank is Xingyao 2. Those unimportant people beside him are ranked 5, but they say that 2 fists can destroy 4 hands and that Chi Yu would pay for his arrogance that night. He begins to levitate in place, smiling mockingly. Looking at them, he says that these trash don't know how far the sky is from the earth. From the tip of his cane, energy starts to accumulate. An intense energy condenses around him, causing even the stones to rise, to the surprise of those present. He hurls them towards the bystanders, who panic. To defend himself, the complainer invokes a shield of protection, but the senior stone is too powerful and crashes violently against him. Near the others, the movement is so fast that they can't even keep up, and soon they are brutally struck by the stones. The action was quick. and now they are sprawled on the ground, powerless. They had lost even with the numerical advantage and couldn't use their abilities. Truly, the power of a pureblood is astonishing. If numbers were important, the Blood Clan would have been decimated years ago. And he reminded them to stay humble, for mixed breeds would never compare to them. Even in defeat, they threaten him, saying the Emperor will know what happened there. Then, his daughter suggests they kill them right away, so no one will have the chance to say anything, which terrifies them. But they are so ugly that doing so might give him nightmares, so he prefers to avoid it. And he said that if they want to tell the Emperor, they are free to do so. He used to hang out with the sub-Emperor Changshim and beat him up when he was younger, which irritates the ugly ones with this comment. Wang was there, but worried about the health of the girl he had rescued. There were no major injuries on her, as Chi Yu had held back her own strength. He said that one of the few beautiful things among so many ugly people should be protected. He certainly sympathized with her hair, as it is gray. Some who were carrying cameras saw Chi Yu leave with her daughter after beating up those present. Immediately they spread the news about the incident, about the fight among the nobles, and hinted at the identity of the new dependent. She wants to know from Wang if things have been resolved, and he says yes. The girl knew where her house was and was going there. He offered to accompany her, but she said it wouldn't be convenient and hurried to leave. Lang Yu thought he would also flee, and he even considered it, but thought she would catch up to him, which she confirmed she would. He wants to know what is happening with his body, but she told him not to rush, as her father wants to see him. Sitting down, he waits for the arrival of the humble dependent. He asked if he had decided on the choice between life and death. But Wang was surprised by this, as he didn't know what he was talking about. He needs to choose between those two masks, for if he has to look at his own ugliness one more time, someone might die. He preferred the darker one, which immediately relieved Chi Yu. He asked his daughter if she really likes him, and if she is the inseparable type, which she confirms. Thus they ask to go together, but Wang doesn't know where they are going. They are now heading to the sacred city. He also has to attend a meeting of the 7 emperors, and his daughter wants to know if everything will be all right, but he tells her not to worry. He and Changxi grew up together and are like brothers. The rumors are just rumors. He warned them to prepare, as they would be leaving in 5 days. Alone with her, he asked more about what happened. He wants to know if they have an agreed relationship, and she asks if he still wants to have an ordinary life, as it seems he hasn't understood anything. She will give him 3 days to think, and after that, she wants an answer. Seeing her leave, he forgot to ask more about the changes that had happened to his body. While he was thinking, his phone began to ring. As soon as he answered, he heard a cry for help. It was Wang Chang's voice on the other end. After receiving that call, he runs desperately through the streets. The dependent building is empty. There is no one there. He knocks on the director's door, asking about Wenqing and if he is home. Soon he realizes that the door is unlocked. He enters, asking if anyone is there and if the director is home. There is no one, and no sign of struggle or resistance, but he ends up stepping on a photograph that is on the floor. It was a picture of his friend next to the director. Looking closely, he is increasingly certain that something has happened. The possibilities begin to terrify him. Already at the police station, the officer informs him that he cannot take this case. Since they disappeared just a few hours ago, there is no evidence that anything happened, even with the call, as adults can be unreachable for a few hours. It was early morning and advised him to sleep, but Wang insists that something should be done. Moreover, it is the police who serve directly to the clan. Civilians are not their priority, and they would only prioritize if it were a request from a clan member. Hearing that justification left him deeply outraged, but he was soon informed that he is dependent on Lang Yu, and he told his secretary that he should have been informed about this earlier. He immediately changes his treatment of the young man and asks him to take a seat. Wang tells him to start working soon, and the director says he will lead the investigation personally. Then, the secretary whispers a few more things to him. He apologized and said he could do nothing, as it is an internal clan problem, and he does not have the authority to interfere. They know nothing about this, and cannot know anything. But all the influential families sent their prodigies to be selected as dependents, with all their important data. He calls his father, who answers angrily because he just wanted to rest a little longer. Hanging up, he is relieved that his father is well, but he does not understand why they attacked Wencheng and not his family. The butler approaches him and says, this happened because Wang has his family protected now. Since they cannot attack him directly, they turn to Wencheng's family. Not understanding the importance of this, he says those families live for this reason, and Wang had closed their opportunity. Soon, he is already very hated for having done this. They will talk about that later. The most important thing now is to rescue his friend. They already know the address to which they were taken. They are just waiting for an order from Wang to destroy the entire family of whoever did this. His identity is now a weapon, and if he wants, he can use it to his advantage. So, he asks Wang what they should do now, if he allows it. Timidly, he says he will save people. Inside a house, an old man says the emperor asked Qi Yu to return and agrees that he is too arrogant. He is outraged that Lang Yu chose a nobody, without family tradition, to be his dependent, and this harmed his family. But they had captured his friend who participated in the selection, who was already being beaten non-stop. The girl tells her master to rest and prepare for the surprise meal that will be held the next day. They immediately realize that things have become complicated for them. Someone is calling, and that is definitely not good. A commotion forms inside the mansion due to the unexpected visit. In the sky, Wang's henchmen are present. The butler's order is clear: to kill. As they enter the already destroyed place, the old man tells them not to approach. It was just a problem among dependents, and now they have entered his house and killed people. He only invited him for tea, and holding the director's neck, he says that when scared, his hands can slip. However, the director is injured and coughs, weakened. Wang panics, and the butler says the director's vitality is compromised. He will not last beyond this night. The woman tells them not to approach, as Wang is just a dependent, and she has connections with real vampires, and that they should at least talk to Lang Yu before doing all this. But the masters are not there, and the dependent is responsible. The most she can do is beg him. The only one capable of having mercy there is him, and no one else. Now they realize they are in deep trouble. Immediately, the old man bows numerous times, begging for mercy, but his servant says he should not do that because of his family. But the old man knows that if he does not do this, people will die. So he returned both to Wang and presumes they are good friends since he helped him during the test. He will take him to Wenchang, but Wang made it clear that if his friend does not survive, heads will roll on the ground. He took them to a door as he is the only one who can open it, but assured that the friend is fine. In a kind of sensor, he places his eye to be scanned. After that, the door opened before them. Humbly, he asked Wang and his group to go ahead, but he says it is the old man who will guide them, to which he agrees. Soon he comes across something that surprises him. Wenchang is lying inside a coffin. He rushes to go to his friend. However, the old man, very sly, presses a button on the wall. The place is now sealed, with them inside. With only them inside, they presume Wang is in trouble, and the butler asks to urgently notify Lang Yu. He is isolated with someone who has cultivated to the 3rd level. The situation is not simple. Even so, he smiles confidently. It's meant for him to die, yet he has a strange feeling about it. Inside, the old man serves himself a drink. That door is massive and will take time to open. When he does things, he likes surprises, and this is his first surprise. Wang is already outraged by the old man's audacity. Ignoring him, he runs towards his friend. He tries to wake him from his slumber. He soon noticed the bite mark on his neck. The second surprise would be this: making the son end up killing his own father, since he had become his dependent. The third surprise would be sensational. Even though his plans were thwarted, it wasn't all in vain, as he enjoyed the expression on Wang's face. Snapping his fingers, he says it's time for the climax. He ordered his dependent to wake up and put on a new performance for his master. He slowly opens his eyes. The old man wants to know who the stronger dependent is, his or Lang Yu's. He struggles to bring his friend back to reality but needs to dodge his attacks. In a careless move, he ended up getting superficially hit. The old man says it's useless, as he is his dependent now and only obeys his orders, and he commands Wenchang to tear apart the one in front of him. Confused, Wang remembers all the moments he had with him. This made him even more outraged by the situation. Because of these guys, the world is now a big trash can. The old man says that humans are nothing more than cattle to them, and that's how things are. Becoming a dependent is the best chance of their lives. If he kills him there will be no problems, as he is just a dependent, and all he needs to do is deliver Wenchang's head as payment. There is nothing he can do now. He instructed him to use the technique inherited upon becoming a dependent, as it would be enough to kill him. Wang watches in horror as his friend injures himself. By inflicting damage on himself, he is 300% more agile and strong, a powerful boost that will last for a minute. Approaching quickly, he strikes Wang. The old man celebrates, thinking he has resolved the situation. He praises his dependent, as it was wonderful to observe. Even so, there are tears in his eyes. Finally, he had stopped moving. Now Wang can hold him with his hands. And he told Wenchang not to worry, as everything would soon be over. The old man is incredulous seeing this. His dependent is going to be bitten by Wang. Immediately, he bites him near the neck. The old man laughs uncontrollably, as it is impossible for a dependent to suppress the influence of someone like him. Even so, the biting continues. Before this, he knew he wouldn't be able to catch Wenchang, as he is too fast, so he went to his inner space and encountered the refrigerator once again. He can't open it, so it might be too late. While trying to open it, he was surprised to find Lang Yu there. As long as they want and aren't too far away, She can be there. In fact, only he is capable of having such a powerful space. Her space is large, but she still doesn't know the limits of Wang's capacity. He doesn't know what to do, and she says that with a kiss, she could help him. Seeing that the matter is urgent, she said she was just joking with him. She can't open the refrigerator, but she can tell him how to handle the situation, as the person fighting him has become someone else's dependent. So, he should grab him and make him his dependent. Once dependent, the result is irreversible. This way, he can at least help his friend escape the old man's control. She will teach him how to do this. It will be up to him whether he does it or not. It won't be difficult for him, as she is a pureblood. But the truth is that it won't be hard for him at all. Approaching, she said he needs to hurry. Either he marks him or he kills him. He needs to make a choice. The next morning, he informs his father that he has arrived. He said he would make the food since his father is practicing calligraphy, but he asked him to take care of his health, and his father asked what he thinks of his calligraphy. Approaching, he said it is wonderful as always. He wants to know if his father doesn't get tired of writing the same thing all the time and that he should vary. He always writes human, earth, and sky. But he says that the laws of earth and sky are in danger, and they should never forget the meaning of what it is to be human. His son was intrigued, and to avoid explaining, he said he would wash the dishes in his place. But he doesn't want to allow his father to do that, as he is the director. On the calligraphy table, there is a photo of the two together. The glass of the picture frame is broken. Veins bulge from his entire body as the process unfolds. He feels a bit of pain and mental confusion. As the process progresses, he screams. Watching everything, the old man has no idea what kind of energy this could be. It's unbelievable. He cannot allow the process to continue. He threw his cup to the ground and ordered his dependent to kill Wang. He tries to approach the two. With his wing, he attacked something. Only after the dust settled did he realize he hadn't hit anything. Looking back, he saw his former dependent holding Wang. He carefully places him on the ground. His expression is calm and serene. On the other side, the old man smiles confidently. However, he begins to cough uncontrollably. The connection with his dependent had been broken. He has no idea how this could have happened. Even so, the dependent is no match for him, as he was born noble and has never been human. As he said a few things, he saw a flash in front of the young man. For a moment, he was surprised. On the face of his former dependent, there was a subtle smile. The old man had been attacked and didn't even realize how things had happened. His blood drips onto the floor. He is prostrated and powerless, not understanding what happened, until he finally falls, defeated. Wen Chang goes to his new master to help him. He carefully approaches his face, what it means to be human, and he remembered the portrait with his father. Watching everything, he realizes that it has finally come to an end. Seeing that his friend was getting too close, he wants to know what this person thinks he is. He can only observe what his friend has done. He is very strong now. With incomprehensible speed, he took care of the old man. If this is Lang Yu's power, she is indeed a frightening woman. On the other hand, he looks at his blood-stained hand. Once again, he injures himself. Desperate, he asks what he is talking about, and she says it is self-destruction. He probably no longer has the desire to live. Since he is unconscious, Wenchang will act according to his wishes. For a moment, he contemplates the possibility of ceasing to exist. Wang hopes he doesn't do that. He tries to reach him with the space he created. Holding him, he tries to force him to listen. Now the three are gathered in this place created by the master. Once again, he tells Wenchang to calm down and listen to what he has to say. Before he could say anything more, his friend had stepped back, promptly bowing before him. Once the spiritual connection was re-established, obedience to the master took over. No matter what he asks of him, it will not be denied. This is the nature of a dependent. But that is not how he wants his friend to be. He wants to know if there is any solution for this. For him to return to being the same as before, just like Wang is, even being dependent on Lang Yu. Upon saying this, he feels a bit sad, but the girl gives a wide smile. Wang is still the same, and he wants his friend to be that way too. Seeing this, she feels happy. Having a more human master makes her heart race. Only through the marking will he have more self-control, as he was only bitten. But he has no idea what a marking is. Listening to what it is, he was perplexed by the possibility. She doesn't want him to refuse to do this, as it would be beautiful to see for the more prominent ones. Trying to escape, he placed his hand on the refrigerator door. Unexpectedly, it opened with that contact. Inside, the only thing there is a small ice cube. After all, that is what one expects to find in a refrigerator. So, he decides to analyze it better. The ice cube begins to shine intensely. Thus, the beams of light that emanated from it met the forehead of his dependent. Finally, the marking on him had been made. He asks if his friend is okay, but he also wants to know what that pattern on his forehead is. Seeing that made Lang Yu very angry. Before she could respond, she left. Gradually, Wenchang begins to regain his consciousness. He touches his face and is moved by everything that happened. At the moment, he is worried about what might have happened to his father. Reassuring him, Wang says that the director is outside. As soon as they leave the room, the young man goes to his father and hugs him. He apologizes to his father for what happened. Grief fills the place, as his father has now turned into a memory. A lot has happened. The director has passed away. His friend is now his dependent, and it has sunk in that he is no longer human. The butler says that the director's body has been collected and is being taken to the cemetery. By law, people like him cannot be buried in cemeteries, but he can do so now that he is dependent on Lang Yu. Thoughtful, he addresses the butler directly. None of this was by chance. It was a trap, and he had realized it even before entering, which is why he stayed outside. But he says he is being misunderstood, and he wants to know why Wang is leaving so hurriedly. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a strong discomfort in his chest. Impossible. That is the arrow of punishment, developed by Lang Yu. He cannot believe he is the target of this, as even though he is not dependent on her, he has been loyal since he met her. That was just a minor issue. It cannot be that she is on the side of someone so weak, but she tells him that this time, it is just a small punishment. No one can make her master unhappy, no matter who they are. They are at the cemetery now, and Wenchang is there. Turning his face, he looks at his friend. Wang notices that there is an urn in his hands. He didn't want his father to be buried in a place full of monsters, so he decided to bring him home. Indeed, it is a better decision. Finally, the two arrive at the house that belonged to the director. The door is opened. There is no one to greet them. Wenchang tells his friend to sit wherever he prefers. He will make some tea for them and suggested black tea, as his father liked it a lot. He himself used to collect the leaves and would hike in the mountains to get them. But he is not a tea drinker and doesn't know what to do with all of that. Remembering his father, he cries once more. The morning is still too intense for him to feel okay. Wang sees this and feels sad for his friend as well. He assumes it is all his fault. If he had kept his powers hidden, none of this would have happened. He doesn't know when he became a monster and responsible for all of this, but his friend asks if it was really his fault. That is not what he thinks, and for him, he feels nothing but gratitude. For having given him power, he can now avenge his father, not to mention that if Wang is a monster, so is he. Then, he looked at his father's calligraphy sheet, on which it is written, humans, earth, and sky, vampires and dependents are people, but with different characteristics. In the end, they are all human. The only thing that truly differentiates them is each one's own humanity. If there is still humanity, then they are not monsters. He had already been thinking about this. Before, he was weak and didn't even know what he would do with his future. Now he has a clear goal in mind. He just hopes his friend doesn't stop him from doing this. After all this, he has become his master. Dependents always obey their masters, and he assumes that is how his friend wants it to be, using these powers to eliminate all these monsters devoid of humanity. Hearing this, he realized that Wenchang has completely changed. Taking advantage of the strength he has, they can simply react with force. That is why from now on he will work hard. He will dedicate himself and start by writing a thesis to learn all the weaknesses that a vampire has. It seems he hasn't changed that much and continues to be an exemplary student in a way. He asked him to stay there for a few days, and no matter what ideas he has, they will discuss them as soon as they get stronger. He listened to this enthusiastically, as weak soldiers do not win wars, and his success also depends on the strength of his superior. In other words, Wang needs to train hard so that both become even stronger. This way, they will refine their personal skills to the point of being able to take down a vampire with a single punch. Leaving the building, he wonders if he will stay there studying all night. However, he needs to hone his skills as soon as possible. He feels that there is something powerful in his body, but he doesn't know how to activate it or even how to use it. That ice cube also remains a mystery. There are many questions and he truly hopes to help his friend. But he has something to do now. He remembered that Lang Yu gave him 3 days to provide an answer. The world is dominated by vampires, and as a human, there is no way to avoid them. The only way out is to fight and become stronger, no matter the cost. It is the only way to protect his family and gain his freedom. Picking up his phone, he called Wenchang, asking for a copy of all the material he could gather. At dawn the next day, the whole city was shocked, as they imagined that Qi Yu had killed yet another family of vampires. That behavior disrespected the king. In the court, the king is reading a petition addressed to him. They want the impeachment of Qi Yu for treason. Reading that fills him with rage, and in 3 days the 7 kings will gather. He ordered them to inform Qi Yu that he must appear. In the hospital, Wang takes his father to care for his health. He sighs, as his father is resistant to taking care of himself. Even promising that he would accompany her to the capital, it worries him, as he thinks she might have some trick up her sleeve. Even being dependent on her, he has self-control, not to mention that she helps him a lot. which is strange. Having to leave for the capital, he will leave Wenchang to take care of his father in his absence. Then he sees the girl with silver hair. She is the girl he had saved that night. An obese man approaches, saying it's the last session, and after that he will take her to eat something nice. That sweaty, huge person looks familiar. The big guy is the mayor of the city. He can't believe he could be her father. If so, it's a genetic oddity. Next to her, the mayor recognizes Wang, and the girl says that this is the guy who saved her. His arms are still bandaged, and he thanks her for telling him that. He only learned what happened to his daughter later, and because of the position he holds, he couldn't thank him in person. But once in front of him, he expressed his gratitude. He didn't expect that this girl would be the mayor's daughter. Wang wants to know why they took his daughter, and he says it's due to their impulsive desires, because they are vampires, and he is just a human who cannot protect his own daughter. He watches the mayor take out some papers. Approaching, he whispers to him that he shouldn't go to the capital, because that is a trap. The king wants to get rid of Qiyu. Leaving the hospital, he says goodbye to the girl he had saved. However, he looks closely at the mayor, remembering what he had said about going to the capital. The mayor's warning was clear that this trip would be dangerous. Knowing this, he needs to inform Lang Yu about what he discovered, and he sent her a message about what he heard. If they go, they need a plan to protect themselves. She responds to him amicably. She is happy that he is worried about her and wants to know if he missed her. That was not the reaction he expected when telling her something so serious. She wants to cuddle with him all night and engage in some intimate acts, if it's not too much to ask, as she has needs. Reading that made him break into a cold sweat. On the other side, she eagerly asked him to come to her room. The father, who had read everything, advised his son to do these things in moderation. He says that's not what his father is thinking, but the bald man there has lived a lot and has another bald head that he used to put to work when he was younger. Now that he is dependent, the salon is very successful, and he believes that his son's beauty is enhanced by the haircut he has been giving him since childhood. He needs to go back home, as now he is famous on the internet. He offered to help his father, but he declined the request. He is not oblivious to everything and knows that his son is getting close to people from high society. Knowing this, he wishes him all the best and that he be happy. No matter what happens in the future, as his father, he will always be waiting for him in that little shop. Happy with those words, he promised to do his best. Pulling out his phone to take a picture, he asked him for one more favor, a proof that he is his father. Along with this, he will put childhood and teenage photos of him in the salon to boost his popularity. He will place them where everyone can see, and Wang does nothing, as this makes his father happy. The truth is that his father must also be worried, and to ensure his safety, he needs to become even stronger. Lang Yu seemed not to care about the warning. She probably already knew about it. She is truly a woman not to be trifled with. There is no way to avoid the dangers of the capital. He just wished there were a simpler way to get stronger. Someone hands him a flyer promoting a martial arts academy. The girl wants to know if he is interested in that. And off he goes to the Liangshan Academy. By the equipment, it seems to be a standard gym. In that world with people having abilities, he wonders if it's worth training anything. He saw two people sparring in boxing. One of them just lost a tooth in that little game. That is really aggressive. This is a hardcore gym. The guy in the ring looks at him and says his face is familiar. He asked if he would like to step up for a round, just for fun. He stands there waiting for a response. Wang says he can't because he's busy, and the guy says that fighting is the first step to getting stronger. If he doesn't have the courage to fight, he won't get stronger, and he's just a coward. Seeing that he's being provoked, he wants to know what happens if he wins or if he loses. It's impossible for him to win, and as soon as he loses, he will have to buy his course on how to get stronger. He says he's a good teacher, but Wang says he found him a bit weak. Then he said that if he beats him, he would teach the kid for free, but Wang said that if he wins, there would be nothing to learn from him. The proposal now is that if he wins, his teacher will teach him how to fight. His teacher is Master Shu, an expert in the technique of the 1,000-year death. Looking at all that, it even seems like a marketing strategy. The girl says he must be desperate for students, not to mention that if he loses, Master Shu will beat him to death. Another guy says that's true, and that he's been waiting to be taught for months, and that the skinny guy has no potential at all. The more he hears things there, the more it seems like he's falling for a scam. Not to mention that there are only humans here. They probably can't even handle a vampire or an addict. Maybe the purpose of the academy is just to help people lose weight. Since he insisted so much, he will fight, as he is also interested in testing his abilities. But whether winning or losing, he wants him to help him with a physical fitness test and not charge for it. He agreed, as he found the request too simple, but what he really wants is to get another student, as he has very few. Finally, the two are in the ring. Wang picks up the gloves he will use. He doesn't know what those numbers are. They are sensors that measure the strength of punches. They will use them because the kid wants to test his physical abilities. The protective gear is very good. Even the ropes of the ring are made of steel. This academy is for humans with abilities, who are stronger than an average person, which is why the equipment is so durable. The girl asks them to get ready. Outside, people start cheering. Now Wang is completely focused. He managed to dodge the first punch, but his opponent puts force on one of his feet. Going into the air, he prepares to attack once more. He lands a hit that is defended by Wang. A punch of 290 is enough to break a wooden board. He continues attacking, and the strength of his punches is increasing. Outside, their master begins to observe that sparring session and asked his pupil to use the secret technique. Master Shu's presence sent the crowd into a frenzy, but he thinks that if he uses it, the rookie won't have any way to defend himself. However, Shu says he doesn't pay attention to things, which is why he hasn't improved yet. He says that until now he hadn't realized. Meanwhile, Wang continues to hold on. Even with the strong punches, the rookie shows no signs of being worn out. Charging energy in one of his hands, he is ready to unleash his special move. The power of his punch rises to 388. Even so, Wang wants to see how strong that is, and he hopes to be able to block this one too. The force of the impact destroyed the floor of the ring. He had missed Wang, who dodged. Irritated, he ordered the rookie to stop dodging. He didn't want to dodge, but he doesn't know how to use his abilities yet, so all he can do is dodge. Outside, the master tells him to imagine a milk carton and that he put a straw in it. He should absorb everything into his stomach and then channel that energy to his limbs. That analogy is terrible, and he gets distracted thinking about it. However, the master tells him to focus and do it that way. He decides to give those tips a chance, but what he saw was the refrigerator. If it's similar to what he said, he could try to make a hole in it. The straw is too soft. It has to be an electric drill. He pushes with the tool against the door until he managed to make a small opening. Now there's a bit of energy coming out, even if it's very little. However, this time he feels capable of controlling it. He directs it and absorbs it, wondering if that's how he should feel. For the first time, he felt a transfer of energy. Outside, they couldn't believe that the newcomer was so talented. Even his opponent was surprised, wondering whether the fight should continue or not. The master says he has to attack now with full force. His pupil obeys the command and charges once more. He strikes the newcomer, but the latter easily blocks his blow, and without using any tricks. This time, it's Wang's turn to attack. The master says he needs to adjust his stance, lower his left hand, and strike. Just as instructed, he executes the attack. His opponent is terrified of what might happen. That power he had in his hands, it made no sense at all. Those watching were completely incredulous. On the glove, it is possible to see that his strike has 688 in strength. They shout enthusiastically, "It is unbelievable." The newcomer delivered a powerful punch as if it were nothing. Then he turns to the master and asks if he is Shu, the one they are talking about. Inside the academy, he talks more with Master Shu. He thanks him for the earlier advice and asks to be taught, while Shu's student says he is impressive. Shu says the young man is indeed talented, unlike his arrogant student. He noticed that he has innate abilities that he cannot access, and without knowledge, he can only hit his opponents with brute force. He agrees with the assessment, and the student praises his master, saying that his classes are expensive and he should be rewarded for bringing in a new student. But Shu says he is already old and doesn't want any more students, which makes his disciple question when he made that decision. However, given his potential, he would accept him as a student. Hearing this, the disciple celebrates because he will receive his commission. Having stated this, he said that Wang would be the last disciple he would take. He will spare no effort, as he hopes Wang will be one of the pillars of humanity in the future, and the young man accepted his challenge. The secretary congratulates both of them but asks the new student to fill out the registration form quickly. Patiently, he fills it out completely. He wants to know if he can pay digitally, and the secretary replies that he can. However, before continuing to speak, she noticed the look of her master. There was a lot of seriousness in his expression. His eyes seemed to convey something to her. Breaking the silence, he apologizes, but says he can no longer teach him. The secretary says that the operating hours have ended and asks him to leave quickly, but Wang doesn't understand anything. She says he shouldn't even be asking why. Reading his name, they know he is Wang Zhe, the dependent everyone has been talking about recently. He doesn't understand why a dependent cannot enroll in that academy, and the secretary says it's not quite that. She said it would be good for the academy to have a noble like him there, but they are just humans who have nothing to offer to vampires. Even so, the poor guy didn't grasp the clear message that they do not teach bloodsuckers. Shu's last words were that they would not say goodbye to him. Outside, while walking, he understood that the treatment changed as soon as they learned of his identity. This differential treatment left him upset. Indeed, they were polite to him and did not disrespect him. However, it was clear that he was not welcome in that place. This is a world where vampires are idolized, and there are entire families wishing to become dependents. Even so, he was subtly ostracized. He just wanted to know why. Then he noticed a noise above. Unexpectedly, a duo appeared where he was. He asks who they are, as they appeared unnaturally and suddenly. However, one of them is already trying to hit him with a kick. He ends up missing the blow, but if he had landed it, it would have caused damage. Wang is cornered, as the other one managed to grab his neck. They asked him if he is indeed the one who was selected as Lang Yu's dependent. In response to his silence, they urged him to answer quickly, asking if he had seen a woman who was carrying a weapon. He wants to know what happened to her in the end and wishes to be answered soon. Before responding, he thinks calmly. He said that Wu, the guy who sparred with him, does not have a punch limited to 388 in strength. That strength is much greater than that. If he had shown it earlier, he would have become his student. Hearing this surprised them, and Wu reveals his identity to him. He acknowledges the identity but asks him to tell what happened to the woman, or else he would beat the guy with punches and kicks. Tightening his grip on his neck vigorously, he wants to know how much pressure he can withstand. Before he could tighten his grip further, Wang held his hand. This left his attacker surprised, for the young man's strength was greater than he expected. The other tried to hit him from behind, but was unsuccessful. Turning to face him, Wang struck him precisely. Trying to regain his composure, Wu was furious at the boy's audacity, but he was soon stomped down against the ground. Catching his breath, Wang asked if extracting energy from his ability and injecting it into his body was the correct way to do it, for there was someone above watching them, and that question had been directed at him, Master Shu. Lying on the ground and powerless, the disciple apologized to his master, but he said he had already warned him that this stubborn behavior of making moves on his own could be the cause of his downfall. He still tried to apologize, as he wanted more information about his friend. His master said she had died for humanity, trying to change the world, and not for a foolish reason like his. Wang agreed with those words, and Wu ordered that this vampire lackey not be hypocritical, but the boy said he was not a lackey, and if he were, they would already be dead. He was still the same as always and asked if there were other cases of dependents who had maintained their individuality, wanting to know if the master believed in him. After hearing this, he said he had a simple way to test what he claimed. He called the academy secretary, Xiao Quan. She emerged from the shadows wearing a nurse's outfit completely inappropriate for the occasion. In her hands, she held a gun called the Morbius Pulse Treatment Gun. A shot from it would reveal the target's deepest desires, and that could trigger a horrific death. In light of this, he wanted to know if he would like to try. Wang said yes, without any hesitation. This response and reaction left everyone there perplexed, until he walked toward her. Pointing the gun at his head, he asked her to fire. She said he was naive, and that even if he believed he was the same, dependents who were hit by that ended up dying, as they became irreversibly disoriented. But that was exactly why he should try it. For if he were someone else's puppet or could become one someday, he preferred for it all to end here and now. If this were his end, he would be grateful, and he asked once more for her to fire. The master asked if he was not afraid that they were lying to him and that it was a normal weapon. But he had realized that they were all true and honorable warriors. It would be better to die by their hands than to become a vampire someday. That is why he believed none of them had reasons to lie to him. Once again, he asked her to shoot, and the nurse said not to think that she would hesitate, until it finally happened. A red flash occurred, and his head was pushed back. Wang's body fell to the ground. His body lay motionless, and only the sound of impact with the ground was heard. Meanwhile, the humans watched him. The master asked the others to step back, as he could transform and go mad. The nurse stepped back, saying she was aware of that. Just as the other two also prepared themselves, they all watched him closely. Meanwhile, he remained still. The master thought he had used himself as a channel. That pulse cut the interaction between the dependent's blood and the vampires. For now, it was still safe. It was time for him to finally show who he truly was. He stood up, covered by a reddish aura. To them, there was no doubt that Wang was truly a vampire, who had now lost his sanity. Wu warned them not to approach him until he self-destructed. But they did not understand. He was still moving toward them, yet he should have been mad by now. Terribly frightened by what she saw, the nurse ordered the creature to stay away from her. However, he easily took the gun from her hands. Intrigued, he asked if that was the most advanced weapon they had. It was indeed effective. He had lost his senses for a few moments and now wanted to know more about this technology. For, to him, it seemed similar to what was close to Master Shu. Still serious, he asked if Wang was okay. Wang said he was human, but the boy confronted him saying he had lost his senses for a few moments and could be a hybrid or a new species. Convinced he had proven to be human, he wanted to know if they would now listen to what he had to say. However, at that very moment, his phone began to ring. The nurse said he might have a device that blocks the signal, which suspended the effectiveness of the gun, and the boy ordered them to search his body for something like that. And she approaches him with her hands, much to Wang's displeasure. Slapping his hands away, she says she has nothing with her. From above, Shu still observes everything, deep in thought. It is Wencheng who calls and says he has finally found something. He says he found something online about how to kill all vampires and wants his master to test it on him, which leaves the human speechless. For him, this is proof that he is human, as no vampire would research ways to end their own existence, and Wencheng wants to access the space of dependence. Now the humans do not know how to react to the situation. The young man asks if the one on the call is really dependent on him. Wencheng greeted them with a somewhat shy and confused expression, and he was soon hit on the head by the gun. But nothing happened, and he even asked if this is a new way to greet people. Once again, the humans do not know what to say, until Master Shu lets out a big laugh, which is echoed by the other humans. Wang joins in, but his dependent does not know what is happening. They had finally found some allies for themselves. Now they are no longer alone in this, as humans never stop resisting. For the last few hundred years, humans have always resisted. Vampires only pretend to care, but they control all aspects of society. Through the internet, education, and even culture, people are conditioned from an early age to exalt vampires. Humanity is in this state because of its own greed. Even though it is difficult, they believe that one day they will achieve victory. Wang was impressed by their confidence. The master is willing to teach him. Still, because of his nature, he cannot fully trust him and wanted to know if that is a problem, but Wang accepted. Wencheng shows him what he found about destroying a vampire, and Shu confirms that all of it is true. Only counts and superiors have a center of energy within them inherited from their lineage. Killing a normal vampire is done in the orthodox way, as if they were human. But the strongest only cease to live if their center of power is destroyed. Fortunately, there are few counts or superiors, as humans have no chances against them, and they want to kill Wang's father-in-law, and they ask about the trip to the capital. Knowing that Wang is going, they want him to deliver something to a friend, but he must not open the box or probe its contents. He agrees, and without wasting time, Master Shu wants to teach him to control his abilities. This makes him very happy, and Wencheng wants to know if he could learn too. Not being stopped, both end up very happy. 3 days later, a door is opened forcefully. It was finally over, and they are happy to have survived. It is wonderful, and they are finally feeling the sun's warmth on their skin. Master Shu's disciples think that now they also understand what it means to be a disciple of this person. He can only go that far with them now and advise them to train more, even recognizing that they are very physically resilient, and he pushed them hard without meaning to. They are unique. They have the strength of vampires but still retain their humanity. It is possible that they are humanity's last hope. Soon it was time for them to leave for the capital. Lang Yu asks him to look at the photo too, but he is not willing to do so. She says they hardly ever take a trip, but Wang says the destination is dangerous, only for her to say that her father warned it would be something simple. This is not right. He is only thinking of ways to protect himself and deliver the package to that person, but Lang Yu wants him not to ignore her. Filled with neediness, she hugs him. She asked if he knows why they are going by car and not by plane, and the answer is that they will have more time alone in that spacious car. Approaching him with mischief, she wants to know if he doesn't want to find out if the shock absorbers are good. As soon as she puts her hand on the young man's thigh, he switches to his protective mode of innocence at full capacity, and he screams like an idiot for her to stop it, and something unusual happens. He looks intrigued at what has happened. Lang Yu now has a childlike form. With tears in her eyes, she says she hates him and starts to cry. He does not know what is happening, and she says she needs to be comforted, but she is willing to stop crying as long as he kisses her. She smiles while thinking that her master is funny. After transforming, he can no longer resist. Due to the master's order, it will take a few days until she can return to her original form. He has become stronger, and she loves that. In another car, photographers notice that the car they are in is swaying, making them die of envy of Lang Yu's dependent. In the front car, there is another person. It is Lang Yu's father, who, while drinking tea, says that the life of the young is too good. Until a small bat flies in through the window. He told him that the vessel is ready. They should stay one night in Huju, and then board the ship and escape under the cover of night. He says that Elk still worries about him, but the bat calls him stupid for going to a dangerous banquet, and reinforced that he should flee. Changxin has not been the same since he became king, but he asks Elk to change the appearance of his messenger, as that aesthetic does not please him. He wants to know what kind of music he would like to listen to. Irritated, the bat says that it is he who asks for this, and that he is on the path of his own destruction. But he goes there to stir things up a bit, and Elk would not understand. He looks at Chiyu, intrigued by what he heard. He asked him to be quiet and enjoy the music. The longevity of vampires has always brought with it death and bloodshed. Finally, they arrive in the capital. Wang is impressed, and Lang Yu says that Beiluo is the most influential city among all 7 kingdoms. What lies before them is the palace. There are many people there, due to the meeting. All of this is because of the meeting of the 7 kings, but there is something that catches Wang's attention. Some people are being stopped by guards. They do not want the princess to get out of the carriage, but the guards say they are just following the rules. Everyone below the king must enter the palace on their own feet, and there is no exception to this. But in their culture, unmarried women cannot set foot on the ground, and that would be an offense to the princess. The reporters know of the custom from the nation of Sakura and wonder if this impasse is a demonstration of power from the king. While they discuss, Lang Yu's carriage approaches. They question why they entered the palace by carriage. They do not know how to answer that, only that Chiyu has never been one to respect rules, and in his case, he would break the palace gates. And indeed, that happened a few years ago. It seems that things will get interesting now that the king has called him to be present. The princess's maids are irritated, wanting to know if they have humiliated their princess in this way. A bit apprehensive, she asks them not to get upset, as this is not a big problem. Opening the window, Lang Yu asks the princess if she would like to get into her carriage. She introduces herself as Lang Yu and says that it must be difficult for her to have to submit to what the king has stipulated in the palace. She could get into the carriage so they could go together, thus avoiding this humiliation. In light of this, she asks her to decide quickly so as not to draw more attention, while the maids suggest that she should leave, as there is no respect. But the princess is a bit indecisive, and she says that she promised her father that she would help with this. Addressing Lang Yu's carriage, she thanks her, apologizing for having troubled her. Now, the princess is with them, inside the carriage. Near her one can smell the scent of cherry blossoms. Meanwhile, Lang Yu asks the driver to proceed to the palace. Thus her caravan continues on its way without hindrance. The reporters notice that the princess had to hitch a ride with Chiyu's caravan to enter the palace. This news will make headlines in the gossip pages, much to the displeasure of the princess's maids. But one of them asks the other to calm down, so as not to interfere with the king's plans. Maliciously, they tell them to laugh while they can, for they will not be the last to laugh. Inside the carriage, she thanks for the help she had received. Then, she nodded her head at Lang Yu. She said that if she needed help in the future, she should not hesitate to ask. There is nothing she would ask of the princess, however. She asked if she already knew her companion. The princess asks if that is her dependent, as he seems weak and vulnerable. She apologizes for her words. But in her nation, there are no dependents that weak, and they are usually commoners. She says that he does indeed seem weak, as they have different preferences. In her case, she prefers to raise and develop her dependent. Wang felt like a pet while she spoke about how satisfying it is to raise a dependent to be stronger. After hearing what she said, the princess says she understands her point. Since she is training him, she has a request to make to Princess Kiyohime about the spirit of the Sakura that she possesses. This left the girl surprised. Lang Yu says that this aroma is very desirable. She was not going to offer it because she is reluctant, but she knows that the young women in her country always carry incense. That is why they do not step on the ground, to avoid contaminating the aroma, and it not only contains power, but also helps to clarify the mind. It maintains beauty, in addition to aiding personal training. That is why those who marry women from her nation are greatly envied. One of the reasons why women from there are treated as mere gifts, and the princess wonders if that will be her fate as well. She thinks of her father's figure. Soon her Sakura spirit will be damaged, giving part of that essence to a kind person. It wouldn't be a problem. That is what she is thinking now. Lang Yu approaches the princess once again, who in turn extends her hand in agreement. She begins to release the characteristic aroma inside the car. Wang notices that the smell is much more intense, and his mind feels much more invigorated. That is the essence of the Sakura spirit. A small petal forms in her hand. Thus, she asks them to accept her. It flies until it finds rest in Wang's hands. Asking him to keep it, Lang Yu thanks the princess for what she had done. Looking at her, the young man notices something. It is as if the princess has a great sadness within her. Approaching, she says that the fragrance is attractive and wants to know if he is interested in other things. In any case, he would become stronger if he had her essence, and it is not impossible for him to obtain it, as Lang Yu will help him. Outside the palace, many people are gathered. Count Chiyu has finally disembarked and is about to enter the main hall. Behind him are his daughter and her dependent. The bat tries to warn him incessantly not to enter, but he simply brushes it away, ignoring its warnings. Someone is pensive in a house amidst several trees. Leaning on the fence, this person thinks of Chiyu. He continues climbing the stairs to the hall. Then he looks around. Being in the vicinity of the palace, being there is the peak of his pride, as the majesty of the king is praised by all. However, there is something that leaves him thoughtful. His aesthetic sense leaves much to be desired. He should have consulted it before building that new tower. The king orders Chiyu to enter soon, and so he does. He faces him with a firm gaze. Finally, Chiyu greets Your Majesty. He makes his greeting to the emperor, who observes him. Putting himself in his place, he greets two other leaders who are there. One is Meng Chang, a great 5-star master, and the other is Ku Li, a great 2-star master. All the leaders are gathered, and the session is about to begin, and the emperor wants to know, at first, why the kings are not present there. After all, they should have come in person. One of them says that his king cannot come because his lands are distant and he has acquired new concubines. But they are at his disposal for anything he asks, as they are at his command, and the woman beside him praised his skill with words. However, she asked how he would like to cease living. She belongs to the Assassin Legion. The young man says that she does not need to be so aggressive, as he had just become stronger recently, and he would not be a match for him. The princess apologizes for her father's absence, as he is busy with his royal duties, and the young man who was speaking thought she seemed quite serious. The bearded man says that the emperor is arrogant, and with 3 days' notice, there was no way for his king to be there. Another one says that the bearded man should speak for himself, and his foolish statements make him question his intelligence. They begin a small argument, and someone says that the meeting has already started 3 minutes ago. Time is scarce, and the emperor should quickly say what brought them all there. He does not want to waste time on the absence of the kings and goes straight to the point of the meeting. The ceremonial officer opens a scroll with the imperial edict. He said that the tariffs of each of the kingdoms will be reduced by 10%. Those present bow, agreeing with the message. That said, he released them to go straight to the banquet, which is already served. The bald man can't wait to meet women, and some comment on whether he is really a Buddhist. The princess wants to know if the emperor will be at the banquet, as she would like to meet him. That said, she leaves the hall, being carried by her servants. An elderly man who is there tells the emperor that he did not understand. The emissaries were arrogant, and if it were during the reign of the former emperor, they would have been executed, and he asks for a lesson to be taught to them. Chiyu says that times have changed and that he should stop thinking about wars, and the old man says that he does not deserve to be there. Wiping his eyes, he agrees with him, saying he only came because he was summoned. Looking at his majesty, the old man claims to have proof that Chiyu has gone mad and caused problems. He, in addition to collaborating with the enemies, has leaked military information and therefore should be executed. He defends himself, saying that his daughter was looking for a dependent and that even his family was in the selection, but the old man claims to have proof. Drawing a device, he shows Chiyu's daughter alongside the princess. He says that his daughter is kind and only helped the princess who needed assistance. The old man insists that this is not a coincidence. With the device, he shows a hall, which is the basement of Chiyu's mansion. There is a place with several masks and a secret passage, until an emblem of the Sakura kingdom is shown. They want to know why this symbol is there and conspire that Lang Yu's mother might be from that kingdom, and he uses this to cover up his betrayal. The old man insists on calling Lang Yu to have a blood test done to confirm his suspicions. For each blood type belongs to a lineage of the elders, containing a specific ability. The ability of their kingdom involves space, and the detector would turn red and yellow. If her blood did not yield this result, they would know what that means. Chiyu hears this but is not happy at all. The emperor authorizes that Lang Yu be brought there. She finally enters, followed by her dependent. Greeting him, she says that the emperor is in excellent physical shape. Wang looks at the emperor and notices that he looks quite youthful. He asked her for a drop of her blood. She was confused by the emperor's request. But whatever the result, this is what will clear her father's name. Pointing his hand at her, he asks her to give him a drop of blood so they can quickly do the compatibility test. Thus, he launched what would be an attack in her direction, but it was blocked by Chiyu. Seeing that, the old man taunts him, saying that he has finally been caught. He gets angry and says that he is a baron from a traditional family and a friend of the emperor since childhood, and that the rumors about this will destroy his reputation. The old man is willing to retract, as long as he proves he is innocent. Otherwise, he is resolute in his accusations. The two begin a battle, and Chiyu manages to defend himself from the first attack. His daughter watches all of this in fear. Then, he looks at the emperor and asks if he will continue to watch everything without doing anything. But he says that Chiyu is being rude, and their friendship does not outweigh the emperor's power, and that he should soon yield his daughter's blood. Finally, he realizes that the emperor already knew all of this. With a challenging smile on his face, he says that it is happening. He formed a red energy entity around Lang Yu and her dependent, asking them to hurry. After that, a barrier sealed them from the outside. Meanwhile, Chiyu continues fighting. Lang Yu steps back, reluctant about what might have happened to her father. A very skilled elder makes a gesture with his hands. With that, he managed to wound her superficially, causing blood to flow from her injury. Now they have the drop they needed. Chiyu remains furious about what is happening. The elders say that he is full of bravado and that he is no match to resist the two. He looks at the emperor and says that he will ask once more if he cares about the brotherhood they share. His response is that the emperor must be cruel and relentless. Concentrating his power, he does not question him, but says that now his years of popularity will come to an end. The elders want to know what kind of threat that was. He wants to know if the two, being stronger after being defeated by him, will still present themselves as the emperor's shield and sword. The first advances to attack him, but Chiyu says he will show him what true aesthetics are. He asked if the old man knows why he wears masks. Some wear them to hide their faces, while he does not mind wearing them and does not care about being with them there. Love and hate, everything is based on how he feels. That is his aesthetic. The elders observe him and realize that he is stronger than he claims. This made them need to defend against his attack. Chiyu is definitely not at the level of a challenger. He is a master challenger beyond the diamond class. The order is diamond, master, grandmaster, and top. Even so, they are confident that, being two great masters, he will have no chance at all. But Chiyu uses a bloodthirsty technique, burning the soul. The sky changed color and turned red. He had leveled up once again, reaching the Grand Master level. In a hurry to end the fight, the elder attacks him with spiritual tigers. An intense sequence of explosions begins to occur. This took a toll on him, leaving him injured from the effort, and he asked Grandmaster Chiyu if he intends to betray his country. Ignoring him, he asked the emperor if there was any chance they would fight, and that, if so, let it be done to the death. Then the emperor asks if he knows what he is talking about. Ancient kings die at the hands of the younger ones. He knows he is no match for him, but if he had to choose, he would prefer to die at the hands of his old friend. If that is how he wishes, then so be it. On the ground, people want to know what is happening, as the emperor is taking action. It seems that Baron Chiyu has challenged him. This is unbelievable. The old man says that this is a disgrace and that the baron's actions will bring disgrace to the country. He will always be the sinner of the Eastern Kingdom, and the people have begun to call for his execution. However, all he thinks is that the environment is too noisy. Looking at the emperor, he says that he does not need to exert himself so much. All he wants now is to punch him in the face, but his fist does not reach him, as it is blocked by a protective barrier. The impact reverberates through the scarlet sky. The shockwave is overwhelming. Once again, they are at it. He has been trying to break this barrier since they were children. Only the royal family of the Eastern Kingdom is capable of doing so. The emperor asks him to stop, as he belongs to one of the 7 original lineages, and there are 10 layers of protection around him. The blows are useless. Clenching his fists, Chiyu says that the abilities, although powerful, consume energy. He can burn everything, and he commanded him not to be so arrogant. He said this while driving his hand into his face. Those watching the fight could hardly believe it. The emperor's face has a huge bruise. He says that if Chiyu does this, things will get more complicated. But it can't get worse than this. In any case, he now finds the aesthetics of his face pleasing. Before he could realize it, the emperor had cut off his arm. That technique separates space with small portals. Now, it would be the end for Chiyu. After forming a portal, a succession of impacts occurs and blood rains down on the ground. With that, Chiyu had departed forever. So says the emperor. He ordered that all of Chiyu's blood relatives be pursued, and that the blood purity of all below the challenger rank be checked, and that traitors be executed. As the blood rained down, his subjects obeyed his orders. In unison, they salute the life of the emperor, wishing him a long and prosperous life. Nearby, one belonging to the assassin clan observes everything. She found it all wonderful, and the bald man wants to know if that is all she has to say. Chiyu had been obliterated, and now the process of cleansing the kingdom had begun. But this is the first time he has fought in front of people since ascending to the throne. His ability is truly interesting, but they agree that this kingdom is no longer as strong as it once was, and that both are already preparing their armies. Chiyu's death acted as a trigger. The only one insensitive to this was the bearded man, who was busy drinking. A trigger for a new reshaping of the world. The period of peace had ended. The princess learned that dinner had been cancelled, but she wants to see the emperor, only for him to send word that he is unavailable for that. They went to his chambers so that she would cooperate with the searches. They say they have nothing to do with this, and that they should check the others, but the guard said they took advantage of the chaos and fled, only they remained there. The Sakura kingdom deserves special treatment. He apologizes for the rudeness, but the princess reiterates that she has something to fulfill at her father's request. She needs to find a way to stay there and become the emperor's wife. The child would secure their future in the war that is to come. If she does not do this, she should not return to the Sakura kingdom. Unable to meet with the emperor, she does not know what to do there. Then, she remembered her Sakura spirit. She can feel it. It is somewhere nearby. It must be the small sample she had given to Lang Yu's dependent. The baron had been killed and now they are searching for his daughter, but it is possible that they are still nearby. Those soldiers are there to look for them. She doesn't know what she should do. She doesn't know if she should reveal where they are, but she knows that this would bring her closer to the Emperor. Perhaps she can really get a moment with him and fulfill the mission given by her father. Before she could say anything, the guards are already leaving, but she shows a reaction. One of them asks what it is, but she is left speechless. But they say that the Emperor's order is for her to leave the kingdom by sunset the next day, and her maids say that this is an offense to them. Pensive, she asked to be taken to bathe, as she would do everything she needs the next day. As soon as they arrived there, she asked her maids to leave, as she wanted to be alone, and they found this behavior strange. Little by little, she begins to remove her garments. Diving into the water, she feels that the fragrance comes from there and is almost arriving, until she finds the source, and it seems to come from a shell. As she gets closer to it, red tentacles try to wrap around her. Now she is immobilized by them. It is Lang Yu with her hair. She thought it was someone from the search team, not expecting it to be such a delightful woman. Looking to the side, the princess realizes that Wang is also there. Lang Yu asks if she followed the fragrance, and indeed she did, asking them if they are not afraid that she will betray them. Smiling, she said that she is too kind, and would not denounce those who saved her life. Not to mention that hiding near her, they can use her as a hostage if needed. Hearing this made her anxious about what they might do to her. But she only wants to ask something for herself, to help them leave the kingdom safely, and nothing more than that. However, she looks at her with a lewd smile. She said that her dependent is a strong young man who has never had a girlfriend, and if he desires her, as a master, there is nothing she can do against it. And she is thinking of the naughty things they can do together, and that he could take her purity. This disturbing scenario leaves her extremely distressed. It made her cry as she is being bullied. Now shouting, she says that the two of them are the bad people there. As Lang Yu is a degenerate, she said that the more the princess cried, the more excited she was becoming. Meanwhile, Wang wonders if they are really escaping, as things happen too quickly. He didn't even have time to react. Thus, everyone connected to Baron Chiyu will be pursued, and he wants to know if his father and friend will be okay during this. Lang Yu reassures him, saying that blood relatives are the real targets. Companions will not be immediate targets of retaliation. Regarding this, he thinks that Master Shu can protect his father, and Wen Chang is capable of taking care of himself. He just hopes everyone will be okay. Now the one in the most danger is him, as they need to get out of there safely. While he was thinking, he noticed that the princess was still crying, and he asked Lang Yu why she was not in mourning for what had happened to her father. She says she already knew what was going to happen. She has no family now, and he is the only one with whom she shares blood. This made her realize how close they are. Changing the tone, she wants to get even closer to him and wants to share the princess with her for lewd acts. This proposal left him petrified. The princess is leaving the palace with her caravan. After making a fuss, some wonder how the emperor allowed her to leave, as she should have been imprisoned. After all, the rumor is already spreading that the traitor Chiyu was close to the royalty of the Sakura kingdom. Before they could leave the palace, a guard orders them to stop. The maids say that the rudeness there is persistent, asking if this is yet another routine inspection. However, this is a gift from the emperor, as if it were a see you soon from the emperor himself, and his gift should be received by the princess herself. Inside her carriage, she thinks a bit before responding. Little by little, she pulls away the veil that covers her. Taking the gift in her hands, she thanked His Majesty for the present. Thus, they will continue their departure, and on her lap is a small Lang Yu disguised as a dwarf. The guards watch the caravan closely. The box was placed by the princess right in front of her. Finally, they left the palace walls. Meanwhile, they think that this time, they came very close to bad luck. Wang is disguised as one of the servants and thinks relieved that they were lucky not to be checked thoroughly. But Lang Yu says that they did check. That gift is a detector. As they possess a drop of her blood, he considers the possibility that a sample of it is inside. If he detects a genetic sample similar to hers, he will certainly be triggered. Wang's doubt is why he is still inert if he is a detector. Smiling, she says that the answer to that is a secret. She said it is the spirit of Princess Sakura who asks her not to touch the box as it is a gift for her father. Since Wang is her master and has a portion of that spirit, it is easy for Lang Yu to change her trail and not be noticed. But this is only possible because her master is strong. She even wants to know his rank as he has all the abilities, which facilitated the assimilation of the spirit. The princess says they are already approaching the border and hopes they keep their word, but Lang Yu reassures her, for it is now that they will see the true spotlight. There will be a fight just ahead of them before they leave this realm. The princess does not understand, and Lang Yu says that she is the true target, but the poor girl does not understand anything. As they want to continue with the war, it is necessary for someone to die. Finally, the assassins have arrived. There are only 2 masters in the caravan. They think the job will be easy since the princess has battle skills similar to that of a toddler. The assassins approach stealthily. One of them manages to attack some of those in the caravan. Those who were not attacked react to this and say that the princess should be protected. Knowing she is being attacked, the princess prepares to defend herself. However, one of the assassins is already in front of her, saying that this is a waste of time. She ends up getting injured and asks who they are that attack her. Without answering, he only says it is regrettable that such a delicious one has to die. Soon, Lang Yu reveals herself and defends the princess, eager to show them what is truly regrettable. Immediately, the two dropped their heavy underwear, as that was not part of the plan. Lang Yu, being the sadist she is, asked them not to rush, as she wants to savor their suffering. Seeing that she was recognized, she felt like a pseudo-celebrity, but they want to finish her off quickly. They decided to split their attack. One will attack the princess while the other holds Lang Yu back. Attacking one of them, he said that if they know who she is, they are already aware of the consequences. On the other hand, the princess is exposed and almost being attacked again. Her aggressor is getting closer and prepared to kill her. Before the impact could happen, a blue-haired figure with the scent of a protagonist appeared. Wang saved her, preventing the princess from discovering whether God exists. Ignoring the tension of the moment, she thought curiously if that is really Lang Yu's companion. The assassin wants to finish his job quickly and continues attacking. Wang moves with her in his arms, dodging the attacks. However, a small cut was made on his cheek. He placed her on the ground while the princess thinks he is so weak and yet is protecting her. Before them, the assassin conjures an energy beast. It grows and advances furiously towards the two. Incredulous that Wang could save her, the princess screams desperately. But the beast, before hitting its target, began to sweat cold. Its instincts tell it that if it attacks, it will bitterly regret it. Meanwhile, Wang has a decrepit smile on his face. It was enough to make the beast tremble in fear and abort the attack. Her master does not understand why she had become so terrified. Behind him, Lang Yu makes a point of explaining that the beast senses danger. It's a pity he is incapable of perceiving that as well. He looks back, trying to react, uselessly. With the two finished off, the maids ask what to do now. There are no more living guards, and they do not know if they can reach the Sakura Kingdom this way. Comforting them, Lang Yu said she liked to travel when she was younger and has some secret routes. All they need is for the princess to trust them. The maid suggests that the princess hand over the fugitives and thereby try to gain the emperor's favor. Convincingly, Lang Yu asked if the princess had made her decision to trust them or the protection of the Eastern Kingdom. She says she does not trust them. But there was more she wanted to say. Wang, despite everything, had saved her life, making her ask him to escort her to the kingdom. The maid, who by this point has proven to be an intruder, questions the princess about what she is doing. Lang Yu took this opportunity to say that escorting her there will be very laborious, and they do not do it for free. Meanwhile, the maids are even more indignant, as they believe it was they who made the princess a target, and that they should do it for free. Looking at the princess, he asked if that's what she thinks. But the girl only says she wants to go back home. She is already anxious about the situation. Thus, they will take her, but Lang Yu ordered the annoying maids to leave. At least the princess can pay, unlike them, who wanted to leave alone. She just asked them not to expose her. Worried, the princess says she will pay for them, not to mention that more people can increase security. This left the maids embarrassed by her kindness. The two have always served her beyond raising her. She cares for both of them. Grateful, they agree that they should leave, so they will distract their pursuers. Anxious, she says that would be too dangerous. Since they are maids, they wouldn't do anything to them, and they would try to deceive them by leaving false trails, so they say their goodbyes. Reluctantly, she ends up agreeing, but asks them to stay safe. Lang Yu says this is the whiniest relative she has ever seen in her life. The princess told her to shut up while Lang Yu wants to know what Wang thinks about this. For him, something is wrong there. It seems very suspicious. His maid shares the same opinion. Through a desert, the princess's maids follow alone. There they should be safe, and they will use a communication crystal to talk to the Lord. They point their hands at the artifact. Thus a red light begins to emanate from it, until the image of someone appears in the air. The man says this is a one-time use and expensive artifact that cannot be tracked. If it's not an emergency, it will kill them. Addressing Tokuran, they ask him to listen to them, then report the situation. Wrapping up the summary of things, they want to know what they should do now. Since the plan went wrong, he ordered them to kill the princess at all costs. She cannot return to the palace. Only after her death will the king's plan to go to war gain strength, so the two maids accept Tokuran's orders. Disappearing, he told them to hurry. They don't know what to do now, as using a flare there would be very risky. They are willing to go back to the princess, who, if she is not dead yet, will be destroyed by them. Then, one of them pulls out a signaling instrument, but it is immediately cut off. Lang Yu asks if they are setting off fireworks. She didn't know the two were going to do something romantic alone. If she had known, she would have joined them in their lewdness. Behind her is the princess, unable to believe what she had heard. She cries with genuine sadness as they had grown up together, but they say they are only loyal to the king and Lord Tokuran, and they do this for the kingdom, and the princess should recognize her responsibility too. And they kindly asked if that is possible for her to die there. Wang positions himself and says that the princess has rights too, and that this idea of dying for the country is something for people without a future and alienated, suggesting that they kill themselves. For the princess would kill herself later, but they are sure that this is a lie. He says that even so, there is no guarantee that the Sakura kingdom will have a promising future with this sacrifice. The prosperity of this country should not depend on the sacrifice of a beautiful woman's life, for if that were the case, this country might as well explode. Some vultures fly in the air. One of them looks down searching for something. Its goal is to find her. Once they found the princess, it descends towards her, releasing a devastating attack. Unprotected, the princess ended up being hit. The vultures reveal to have humanoid forms. The maid tries to help her mistress. Meanwhile, more arrows descend from the sky towards them. The impact raises a lot of dust from the ground. The two were now visibly dead. It was too easy, and one of them is in doubt if it is really the princess, but another responds that the appearance was the same. They must be tired of fleeing, which made their job easier. With the bloodied bodies on the ground, the job was completed. All that was missing now was a photo of her body. The siege of the Eastern Kingdom is now an inevitable situation. With their departure, silence filled the desert. A small shell at the base of a tree is shining. From there come the princess, Wang, and Lang Yu. Now everyone thinks Kiyohime is dead. It won't be difficult for them to go to the Sakura Kingdom disguised. That Chiyu mask was one of her father's treasures. It melts into the skin and cannot be detected. Now the princess will have to double the payment, as that was a valuable artifact. She wants to know if she feels regret for what happened, but they are two traitors. She shouldn't be mourning, and Wang asks her to take it easy, but Lang Yu points out that even without knowing her, he agreed to the destruction of Sakura. At the outset, she asked the soft-hearted to rest, as she was going for a walk. Looking at the princess, he asked her to disregard Lang Yu's words, but he doesn't know how to comfort her now. He wants to thank her for the spirit of Sakura, and Kiyohime says she is not as strong as he is and is incapable of protecting herself. Uncomfortable being near her, he said he would leave her alone to rest. A little further away, he began to sleep almost immediately. The princess looks once more at that weak companion. Even so, he makes her feel safe. She should thank him in some way. And while sleeping, Wang feels a warm comfort. It's the fragrance. He feels calmer and that the place has become cozier. After a while, he wakes up, and as he stretches, his body cracks several times. This left him thoughtful, as he doesn't know why his body made those sounds. Not to mention that he was feeling stronger, in addition to being very hungry. Pointing to a bountiful table before him, Lang Yu says it's time for a snack. He called Kiyohime to eat as well, as she must be hungry. While Wang eats non-stop, Lang Yu brings even more food for them. The princess finds it curious that Lang Yu does things for his dependent, and wonders if things are like this in the Eastern Kingdom. Looking at the princess, he says he knows what she thinks. It is nothing more than care. It's like taking care of a pet. In this way, they create intimacy, and his loyalty increases even more. He asked if she would like to try a little. Taking her hand, he asked her to feel how it is. Kiyohime caresses Wang's hair, but she didn't mind, as the sensation in her hand was soft. However, he felt uncomfortable, as he just wanted to make his breakfast in peace. Soon the news about what had happened to the princess comes out. It doesn't take long for a declaration of war to occur. It had been very quick. It is even clear that the war had already been desired. Even if the princess revealed herself to be alive, it would still be difficult to prevent the war. There is nothing they can do about it now. She was used only as an instrument, and they ask her what she would like to do. Kiyohime wants to speak directly with her father about this. Lang Yu says she is a weak and too naive princess. She probably even believes that Santa Claus exists. However, she is of noble descent and must have inherited at least half of his blood potential. Even so, she is weak, the weakest noblewoman Lang Yu has ever seen, and Kiyohime says it has always been this way. Perhaps that is why they gave up on her. She would like to know if things would be different if she were stronger, and Lang Yu wants to continue the journey to Sakura. If they want to talk to her and try to prevent the war, they need to be very quick. Wang feels that she seems to know something she hasn't said yet. In Kyoto, a man says they need to be quick as the armies are preparing, but one of them doesn't care about that and hopes that Sakura's blood will be spilled on the ground. The bald man asked the king if he's looking at pictures of the princess. He indeed is, and said she was cute, just like her mother. Regrettable. Crushing the photo, he became enraged, as neither of them showed any sign of having their power. He only married her because of the legend of the Kyuubi Kitsune, but that power never manifested in them. Having her mother's personality, her greatest potential was to be an instrument. If they harnessed the power of the Kyuubi, they could reign over the other kingdoms. However, perhaps this is just a legend. Yamata no Orochi and the Great Tengu are two beasts that used to freelance in an anime that has already ended. Now they work in this story. They can't wait to tear up the peace treaty and start a war. Nothing can stop them now. Picking up the shell that was on the ground, Lang Yu calls them to continue their journey. The princess takes timid steps on the ground. She is a bit reluctant to continue. Lang Yu wants to know what is happening, but she says it's nothing. Due to the attack, she had completely forgotten. But she shouldn't step on the ground with her feet. That's how she had been indoctrinated, or no man would have interest in her. As in the kingdom of Sakura, they strive to like women. Remembering this made her burn with rage. Then she took a strong step that raised dust from the ground, but they didn't understand that act of protest from her. Regaining her composure, she asked to be called by her name, Kiyohime. Pointing to a star, she commanded them to hurry. A vast expanse of sand lay before them. Hastily, they continued their journey through the desert. Looking at Wang, Kiyohime realized that she had entrusted her spirit of Sakura to that dependent. Her heart began to race because of this. Lang Yu, who can sense lustful thoughts, wanted to know why she had blushed, but Kiyohime said it was nothing. In his barbershop, Wang's father says he will call the police if they stay there. But they say that, being the father of Lang Yu's dependent, he is a traitor too. However, he insists that his son has done nothing. He is just a dependent. The oddballs, who wouldn't survive the bullying of a serious school, say that he even put a picture of the two at the entrance to attract more customers. While they were inside, the glass shattered. The bald man is furious and told them to get lost. This was what they needed. The oddballs were going to destroy his shop, and with their scrawny bodies and horrible hair, they were going to teach him a lesson. The bald man, unfortunately, is overweight and middle-aged. It would be difficult for him. But that's when Wenchang appears to save the day. No one deserves to be beaten by someone who looks like that. As an enemy of gratuitous aggression, he asked them to stop, but they said this was a matter for vampires and he should not get involved. However, Wenchang said they are humans. The oddballs, who are a great source of secondhand embarrassment, said that even being human, they enjoy the vampire aesthetic. Removing his glasses, he said some things that a nerd would say. They didn't understand anything, but they realized it was something that made it clear they were dumb and ugly. It wasn't long before they were chased out of there with punches and violence. Now they realized that the nerd was the non-human there. He looked at them intently. The oddballs called him boss and wanted to know why he defended the bald man, fearing they would get beaten even more. They even wanted to become his dependents, but Wenchang just asked them to leave. Immediately, they left the shop as if nothing had happened. Dependents are as obsessed as vampires by humans, and if he is strong enough, he can have his own dependents. But that is rare. Returning to the shop, he asked if the bald man was okay and said he was a friend of Wang. He wanted to know if his son was really in danger. Wenchang said he is strong, but the bald man remembered that his son was a fearful child. As he left the shop, he wondered where he could be now. But from the top of a building, they were being watched. Someone is protecting Wang's father, and they realize it is someone of high rank. But they are confident that by capturing the bald man, they will get a clue about Lang Yu's whereabouts since she only has Wang as a dependent. Wenchang noticed them approaching, and the ugliest one said he smelled dependent on him and must have been recently turned. He told him to eat more, or he would be eaten. The others went after the bald man. Wenchang panicked, and the hideous-haired one said that numbers win battles. But the martial arts crowd appeared, agreeing with what he said as they arrived with many. They began to use their choreographed tokusatsu attacks. With the comedians obliterated, the scarred one told the bald man that he could no longer stay there and needed to move to a safe place. Wenchang told him not to worry, as those people are not bad. The bald man crouched to pick something up and Wenchang went to him. He had already grabbed his belongings and was ready to leave, to everyone's surprise. The bald man, with his rich little money, did not want war with anyone. Lang Yu wanted to know why Wang was so sad early in the morning. He just got emotional, but he was thinking that he had been reborn in a completely bizarre world. Besides now being a fugitive, he had no idea what would happen to him. He began to hear a song. It was Kiyohime who was singing. This song is sung when one feels homesick. He refers to her as Your Highness, but she asks him to call her by her first name. Suddenly, Lang Yu appears, saying that the two have intense sexual tension between them and could give in to it as she would love to see. However, after walking for a while, the Sakura Kingdom was already in sight. With the clothes they are wearing now, it will be easy to enter. Wang wants to do this quickly, but his servant says they need to prepare. He asks how they could do that. Almost an hour had passed. A vendor announces his paper dolls. He offers one to a passerby as a portable paper wife. Wang declines. He is wearing a mask, and the girl's clothes have completely changed. Impressed by their beauty, a takoyaki vendor tries to make a little money. As it looked appetizing, they ended up giving in. Lang Yu asks him to try a bit of hers. Those watching could only think he was very lucky to have two beauties as company. He wants to know if this is the disguise, and she says that single women cannot step on the ground unless accompanied by their husbands. They don't want to draw attention there, so they need to dance to the music. That is the outside of the capital. She asks them not to hurry and to take a look around. The Sakura Kingdom is smaller than he imagines and is indeed the smallest of the 7, but he wants to know what place that is. Kiyohime looks at it with a distant gaze and tells him that this is the royal sanctuary. It is in that place that royalty honors their ancestors. That is where the dead are mourned, with a ceremony that lasts several days of mourning. But even with the supposed death of the princess, nothing was happening there. Her death is a pretext for war, but the absence of mourning in the city tells a completely different story. Wang tries to console her, but the princess only asks them to keep walking. While they are there, they hear some commotion nearby. It is a man who is upset because he is mourning the princess, but nothing is happening besides being expelled from the place. This is a royal sanctuary, and they should invoke her spirit since the body has not been recovered, but the guard asks him to stop causing a disturbance. Kiyohime hears the man say that she was used as a tool, just like they did with his mother. The old man's belongings fly through the air as he falls to the ground. The guard said that if he continued with that, he would end up dying. He gathers his fallen things while feeling indignant. The poor man is in mourning. Collecting photos of the princess with his mother, he becomes sad to realize they are now dusty. Kiyohime tries to approach him, but Lang Yu stops her. She recognizes that elderly man. He is Grandpa Haneda, but is warned that they need to be cautious and observe more. However, they would follow him now. Back at his home, he says he has failed Matsuko because something horrible happened to the princess. In his house, there is an altar for Matsuko. For all these years, he had to look at her from afar. The only thing left to him is a small pouch with hair. Now that cursed bloodline had found an end. Kiyohime realizes it was her mother's hair and feels a nostalgic scent. Thus, she begins to enter the old man's house, to Wang's surprise. She continues moving toward the elderly man. Hearing the footsteps, he asks who is there, until he realizes that the one in front of him is the princess. Wang still doesn't know why he entered the house without warning. With his eyes shining, he says that this scent is familiar. That is definitely the essence of his mother. The old man is moved because the princess is alive. Soon he worries about what he had burned on the altar. He said he could not feel that scent. Kiyohime asks if that is from her mother, as she is remembering something. Lang Yu stops him from extinguishing the fire. He becomes a bit agitated, but she assures him that they are not bad people. In fact, they are her bodyguards. But the old man wants to put out the fire and asks them to leave and only return when the scent dissipates. But he realizes that something is happening. Bringing his hands to his head, the princess seems to be revisiting memories. That is a terrible headache she's feeling. The old man is worried and says he has no choice but to hide that. He begins to perform a spell, and soon the environment glows blue. The whole house seems to be inside a barrier now. Lang Yu did not expect him to be capable of such a technique, but seeing him panting, she offered help. Thus, she used a spell to temporarily blind him. That was the only way to keep them safe. Soon the princess became a source of an aura that kept emanating. They needed to protect themselves from that energy. Wang ended up getting hurt a little, being thrown away by it. Even so, the barrier had bravely withstood, until everything calmed down once again. Before the altar, Kiyohime is sure that the scent is familiar. Her eyes are glazed, as if they are empty. Memories of her childhood and her mother emerge, of when she played in the company of the maids, and of when her mother was taken away by force. Her mother's entire family ended up being executed. This happened because her mother was forced to awaken Kyuubi. But that had not happened. On that day, her father even tried to end her life. In the face of something happening, her mother reacted violently. She tried to kill her husband, who was threatening her own daughter's life. In light of this, she prevented something worse from happening. But her actions would have consequences, and she chose to end her own life. She now remembered her mother's body lying on the floor, as well as the shock of having seen all that. After her death, her father collected her mother's blood, and, using a technique of his own, suppressed her memories. He accomplished this by using the deceased's blood and touching Kiyohime's forehead. After that, all that followed were flames that consumed the bodies of her relatives. Because of what was done to her, she had forgotten everything. As a result, she lived her days without the psychological damage of the event. Being the heir of the Kyuubi, she lived in a prison of lies. Only great joys or immense remorse, as well as feelings of rejection, serve as triggers for this power. Kiyohime's eyes shine as she writhes in pain. The old man looks at her, worried. Wang also looks at the princess, not knowing what is happening. Her pupils are now slits. and she finally possesses the power of Kyubi Kitsune. The aura of the fox is intensely emanating from her body. The power had awakened, and it had happened only a few times over thousands of years, as it requires intense emotions. That is why the king massacred the Matsuko clan in front of her, but he was unsuccessful. Now Kiyohime is furious. She had been weak her entire life, and now she had awakened a tremendous power. She possesses the strength the king always desired. But this is not exactly a good thing. Out of control, she lunges at Wang to attack him, but he dodges. Lang Yu also managed to defend himself. This awakening requires intense trauma. Thus, she will never regain her sanity. This will progress until she dies from fighting too much, but Lang Yu warns that she has not fully transformed, as she only has 2 tails. They look at her and confirm this. It is the chance they have to try to suppress this power. She told Kaneda to do something or everyone there would die, but the old man could only ask how she knew so many details. Without answering, she simply ordered him to hurry while she went to contain Kiyohime. She managed to wrap her with her hair while Wang also approached. He threw himself onto her, embracing her. The old man used a technique to bind her. Thus, he placed his hand on the ground, and a magic circle appeared. Gradually, it extended until it reached the uncontrolled princess. She is within the magic, while Wang holds her. Even so, she screams like a furious animal. As they were close enough, she ended up biting him. Wang felt the pain of the bite, but there was nothing he could do. However, little by little, something began to happen. The princess's body became lighter. She was no longer exerting force. She falls to the ground, exhausted. Finally, the moment of tension had ended. However, Lang Yu makes a point of saying that this is just the beginning. As there is a magical barrier there, the person who placed the prohibition in the princess's mind still does not know this, but things have gone beyond what he expected. The old man agrees. That power is too immense to be hidden. Friendlily, Lang Yu says there is no choice but to sacrifice the old man, who is surprised. Outside, there are already some people watching the house. Tokuran knows it is Haneda's house, who is close to Matsuko. He is merely a pawn preserved by the king's mercy, who allowed him sporadic contact with the princess. But it seems he has been hiding something after all this time. A strong blue aura begins to emanate from him. He always suspected the old man, who said they are not yet fit to spy on him. Who would have thought an innocent old man would be a master? He wants to know if all this happened because of the princess's death. He says she should at least be properly mourned, and since he is old, he has nothing left to lose. Only the shackles of society. He stated that if they do not do as he says, he will expose everything the king did to exploit the Matsuko family. Drawing his sword, the other bald man simply calls him pathetic and told him to shut up. Furious, the old man prepares to fight, but the bald man's sword is powerful and breaks his magic. Thus, he managed to pierce the old man with his blade. With him fallen on the ground, he ordered his men to take him away. One of his men asks if he will not be killed, but the bald man says that Kekeshi is rare and he could die later. Not to mention that he might know more things and should be taken to the Inquisition. As they take him away, he looks back. All of this just because of a useless person with a low rank. Finally, they disappear on the horizon. In the midst of the rubble, there is a small shell. They left there. Wang wants to know if it is safe, but Lang Yu confirms to him that Haneda was already being spied on, and that with his capture, they are now free. After all, the royal family is very arrogant. Meanwhile, Kiyohime remains unconscious. She wakes up startled, calling for her mother. After what seemed like a nightmare, she sighs heavily, panting. Looking ahead, she begins to think about where she is exactly. Getting up, she opens the door to the room she is in. Once outside, it seems she is inside the palace. That is the garden that belonged to her mother. Soon, the memory of what she did to herself comes back, and of her last moments in her company. Her body thrown on the ground, lifeless. Kiyohime begins to scream and puts her hands on her head. Approaching her, Lang Yu asks if she is in pain. Then the princess looks at them. She told them to leave, as this is the palace, and being here is dangerous for them. To her surprise, Lang Yu called her cute, asking her to look more closely at where they are. That was Lang Yu's space. The shell reproduces the moderator's subconscious, and that is the place that was present in the princess's dreams. Soon she realizes where they are, but wants to know where old Haneda is. He had been captured so they could cover up her existence. Given the expression she made, Lang Yu asked her not to say she would save him, as he would laugh at her. Distressed, she says she knows she is weak. However, she needs to do something, and her tears fall to the ground. She doesn't know why she is still alive, since she is so weak. Throwing herself on the ground, crying because of it. Seeing her in this state, he remembered Wencheng and the bald man he calls father. Wang approached the princess to comfort her. Then she got up and hugged him tightly, emotional. Using all the empathy she has, she ended up crying too. Weakness is a sin. This is one of the laws of nature. The world is crazy, and even a child knows that the strong should protect the weaker. That's why he will become stronger. Hearing this, it was as if her mind had a spark. At that moment, she felt a great power that had been dormant inside her. Definitely that was not an illusion, and she screams once more. The power begins to take over her body. Lang Yu says that with only 2 tails, she will not be able to save the old man, and that if she wants to do something, she needs to control it. And every time she uses this, her body will be consumed until she earns a prize, a beautiful wooden coat. However, she accepts the risks and says she will live for herself, even if it costs her life. Seeing that the situation was intensifying, Lang Yu ordered Wang to do his job quickly. He has no idea what it is, but she says the shell will break soon. She told him to use his refrigerator, so he decided to give her advice a chance and remembered what Shu had taught him. He focused on his mind and on controlling his muscles, sharpening his focus, until the refrigerator appeared before him. The door began to open slightly. This is definitely a crucial step in the process. How to channel that external energy, he needed to be very cautious. Little by little, he begins to absorb the energy. But the small amount soon hits his chest with a dry thud. The power is so strong that he is being thrown away. Wang needs to exert a lot of force to get closer. That is definitely a deadly energy. But upon opening the refrigerator, he realizes there is something inside that wasn't there before. That is too strong. He has no idea how much he will have to absorb. Lang Yu reminds him to be quick, as the princess won't last much longer. This makes him very anxious, as everything depends on him. Kiyohime continues to scream in pain and releasing a lot of energy. Time is running out, and if she releases the 9 tails, she will end up dying. The more he absorbs this bestial energy, the greater her chance of having control. He looks at her, still very anxious, until Kiyohime thanks him for his effort. His doubt is whether the princess would still die if she released 9 tails, even with her humanity preserved. Lang Yu cannot say for sure. Then he extends his hand toward her, ready to suck in as much energy as necessary. This causes him to suffer internal damage and cough up blood. The amount of energy inside the refrigerator is increasing. Finally, he closes it tightly. From inside the house, the energy emanates intensely, with a roar. Kiyohime crawls on the floor. He is already completely marked by her claws. Then he starts to roar as if he were an animal. She looks threateningly at Wang, who is in front of her. His effort is great, and he believes he can absorb more energy. Inside his internal space, the refrigerator is already stuffed. He realizes that the door is trying to close. This worries him as the energy outside is still abundant. Once again, he tries to hold it open. The door begins to creak. Little by little, it starts to close more. This is draining all the strength he has, but his effort seems futile as the door continues to close. Trembling from the strain, he asks her not to close, until his pupils change color, and his body is flooded with an unknown power. He had managed to keep the door completely open. Outside, his body absorbs the Kyuubi's energy much more intensely. Kiyohime is exhausted, but she thanks him for his help. However, her relief lasts only a short time. Once again, the Kyuubi manifests within her. Another tail has appeared. Now there are a total of 5 tails. Kiyohime's features become even more animalistic. She enjoys this new sensation. It feels good to be like a beast. But there is an internal conflict within her, between Kiyohime and the Kyuubi, who begin to argue. The beast does not want to be contained, as it hinders its evolution, until she finally realizes that something is happening. There is a person there sucking all her energy. Wanting to stop this process, she lunges aggressively at Wang. Before she can do anything, Lang Yu intercepts her, but Kyuubi avoids being caught in her hair, cutting it instead. She realizes that the beast is furious. The Kyuubi remains enraged, ready to destroy Konoha. She flees from Lang Yu as her hair reminds her of Kushina, bringing back past traumas. She leaps several times to escape the redhead who torments her, until she manages to head towards Wang. However, the honorary member of the Uzumaki clan prevents the worst from happening, immobilizing the poor fox who just wanted to go to Konoha to cause some mischief. Unexpectedly, she reveals that this body was an illusion, which she had learned to create from her former master, Madara. Several shadow clones rush towards Wang to prevent him from absorbing her power. Her hands finally manage to touch him. With him within reach, she roars furiously, biting him in a non-vascularized area of the human body, the shoulder. This makes his eyes widen. Immediately, she stops biting him, but he wouldn't let that go unpunished. Yet she ends up biting him once more, but on the other side now. Her teeth sink into that non-vascularized part of the body. Lang Yu warns that she will be devoured by an even larger and bulkier beast. His eyes already shine red with malice. Kyuubi wraps him with her tails, and Wang asks her what it tastes like. Since she should drink a bit more as the Kyuubi's power is diluted, she continues to bite him furiously. Then he decides to do her a small favor. He places the tips of his fingers on her forehead. causing them to glow with a red energy. Gradually, the energy spreads through the air and begins to interact with her tails. The Kyuubi's energy is being released even more, reaching a total of 8 tails while Lang Yu watches them closely. The amount of energy is so great that the house they are in breaks apart. However, the crack forming inside the shell is disappearing. The other Wang praises the space artifact, and Lang Yu says it is a national treasure that was obtained by her father. He also asks about the mask used for camouflage, and she is happy that he noticed all these things. Thinking for a moment, he praises Lang Yu's plan, as it is very interesting. Happy, she says she did all that thinking of him and hopes he regains his strength soon. However, she wants to know if he will make Kiyohime his dependent as well. She says that she is just a wild and smelly fox. With a snap of her fingers, she makes her tails disappear, saying that the decision about this is his body's. As she returns to her human appearance, she says she likes seeing him with divided emotions. She says that Lang Yu has done very well, and she will do everything in her power to help her master. Because she loves him deeply and passionately, Wang falls to the ground unconscious while she touches his hand with her face. In a command room, soldiers inform the commander that they are tracking Sakura's troops. They have popular support to invade the Eastern Kingdom. In the Kingdom of Sao, they have hidden troops ready to carry out assassinations and blame the Sakura Kingdom. In Mirai, they know that time for war is running out. Their missiles are prepared to obliterate 2 armies at once, from the Eastern Kingdom and Sakura. Among the bald men, they see this as an opportunity, as the war will be chaos. Meanwhile, in the Snowy Kingdom, soldiers are asking their chief what they should do. But the mission is to protect the borders, as there will be opportunists in the war. They must remember the nation's motto, an eye for an eye. It is the price that the bastard from the Eastern Kingdom will pay. No one will sleep that night. The full moon illuminates the night, and the emperor is in his palace, deep in thought. In the Sakura Kingdom, bald soldiers are securing Tokuran's mansion. He is sitting in front of his men. One of them reports that everything is going as planned. They have supplies and the troops are moving, until someone arrives and says that Haneda has not confessed anything yet. This makes the bald man very angry. He turns back and says he will continue the interrogation, and the bald man said he should only return if he has news. The jailer approaches the elderly man who is chained. Still weak, the old man senses his approach. His torturer asks if he is ready for hell, but the old man says that his prostate is the size of an apple. His life is already hell. Then he gouged out one of his eyes, hoping to find out how tough he is. He said he is lucky that the war is about to start, but the old man refuses to say anything. He boldly states that they are all lackeys of the bald man and the king. Irritated, the man prepares to kill him. The blade is almost striking his shining baldness, but Lang Yu's hair prevents that from happening. Even with only one eye left, he recognizes them. That couple was in his house. Worried, he wants to know where the princess is. Lang Yu says she has other matters to attend to and that they need to hurry. They need to create chaos in the capital of the kingdom, until someone alerts that an attack is happening. The bald soldiers gather, ready to capture the invaders, but they are repelled by a blue energy. They know that the invaders are there for Haneda. Taking a few steps, he laments the mess. Tokuran had arrived with his squad of bald men. The invaders took advantage of the situation, as the army is mobilized and the best men are not there. Drawing his sword, he says their effort is futile, as the king has been planning this for years. Then he made a cut with his bald blade. Entering the building, he saw that there were several bodies on the floor. Once inside, he realized that his prisoner was no longer there. While he is thinking, he heard a loud noise from outside. He immediately disappeared and went up high, seeing the situation from above. A bald vampire attacks the barrier, destroying it. The shards fall to the ground. Observing the scene, he realizes that they should no longer be there. Once again, he hears another crash. He quickly identifies the direction of the noise. But there was something unusual about it. It was the library. He needed to hurry. Inside are strategic documents for the invasion and for the war. He had been deceived. He positions himself in front of the building, preparing to use a supreme technique of bald fencing. Within a 30-meter radius, the place is blocked. They have nowhere to escape now. In Lang Yu's hands is one of the plans. The kingdom had already placed spies all along the border. The hidden army and the decapitation squad were already moving. They had planned very well. But he doesn't care about that, as he believes none of them will leave there alive. They provoke him, saying he is a traitor to the kingdom and that he should sacrifice his own life for his shame. But he does not let it affect him and says he will spit on Tokuran's dead body. He doubts very much that they are capable of doing that. But Lang Yu looks at him as if she knows it won't be challenging, as she is a master. Wang's battle level is diamond. While the old man is exhausted and missing an eye, but she knows he is also drained from what he has done. Full of bravado, he asks them to attack him, as he will show them the fury of a man who has been bald since puberty. Despite provoking him, she asks Wang to do it in her place, to the surprise of the young man. She wants him to wear him down so that she can then finish off that bald man. Not to mention that he had absorbed a lot of energy, so he needed an opponent who could extract that potential from him. And the bald man in question is the perfect choice for this, since Wang has a thick mane that completely affects him. Without waiting, he furiously lunges at him with his sword. The blade of the sword passed close to Wang. That strike was so intense that it cut through the building behind him. It was so close that he felt chills from it. His body was completely tingling. The strength of someone at the challenging level is truly immense. This time, 2 cuts are coming in his direction. It was too fast. What he learned from Master Shu wouldn't apply to that. He doesn't know what to do. However, there was something he learned from him besides combat movements, control of strength, and he remembered when he was exhausted and Master Shu would tell them to keep training. They are stronger than the strongest human because they are dependent. They shouldn't be tired. Everything is a matter of efficiency. Exhausted, they have no idea what the master is talking about. Everyone uses the same fuel, but their utilization is small. The master can use all his potential. Interested, he wants to know how he can do that too. He said to chew with the teeth, feel with the hair, breathe through the pores. Feel the energy touch your body and then place it where you would like it to be. The energy begins to burn in his body. He can visualize it inside the refrigerator. He is going to burn it completely, stepping on the accelerator with everything. His fury grows, his fangs are clearly visible, and he releases an enraged roar. Now it is Wang who is on the offensive. The bald man did not expect the dependent to be able to burn his energy, as that is a stupid thing for ants to do. However, he was struck hard in the face. As his body flies from the impact, he tries to imagine how that could be possible. He shouldn't have been hit under any circumstances. Wang's body overflows with energy, but his arms are injured. Looking closer, the bald man understood what happened. He aimed for the escape point, but Wang advanced, finding a gap between the 2 attacks. With that, he only superficially injured his arms. That simply made him feel humiliated, as besides being bald, he was now made to look foolish. Wang continues his relentless attack, but one of his fists is held by the bald man, who twists it violently, as if it were a cloth. He couldn't let his bald pride be trampled like that. That dependent needs to suffer the consequences now. While holding his arm, with the other hand he was ready to slice him completely, but Wang manages to move a little back, causing the wound to be superficial. Now the bald man jumps into the air and prepares to deliver a devastating blow. His rage is immense, as he wants to restore his bald pride. The blade shines intensely with his energy. Wang's eyes have changed, and his pupils are like those of a fox. He roars as if he were a wild animal, heading towards his aggressor. The 2 are now on a collision course. His arm was no longer injured, and with it, he would rip the bald man's guts out. A strong explosion occurs as they collide. On the ground, Lang Yu and the old man watch that monstrous clash. Worried, the elderly man says that Tokaran is still alive. Lang Yu continues to observe everything very closely, until they manage to see what happened, to the old man's surprise. The bald man's sword had penetrated Wang, piercing him. Lang Yu says he is only at the diamond level, and Tokaran is 2 levels above, at the challenging level. Victory was far from possible, which left the old man desperate. Now he thinks there is no more hope, but the girl reassures him, as she is still there. Not to mention that Wang is still very much alive. Tokaran holds his sword firmly with both hands, while Wang's hand had made contact with his abdomen. With the other hand, he holds the sword, and Tokaran orders him to let go, but he knows that the bald man is now trapped. He grips the sword more tightly while saying that he is good at punching. He won't play knife fight with him anymore. Now they will have to punch each other, delivering a powerful blow to a part of the bald man's anatomy that made him writhe in pain in an almost unfair way. He screams as he feels a fragile and delicate structure break. The pain is so intense that he cursed him in every possible way. Furious, he screams in such a way that he throws Wang away. Unfortunately, the young man has now lost consciousness, but the pain is intense, and he still hasn't recovered from the low blow. His voice has now risen 2 octaves permanently. The barrier he created is still there. The bald man is determined to end that fight with his next blow, but Lang Yu's hair suddenly appears. She saved her master from a blow he could not avoid. Handing her beloved over to the old one-eyed man, she says the first round is over, and now he will have to fight her, and she is not as inexperienced as Wang. Provocatively, she asked him to show mercy. With the sword in hand, he smiles at that request. Everything that has happened so far is unacceptable. Besides having his pride wounded, he has become a laughingstock. He would never allow her of lower class to oppress him. His arms begin to emanate energy, just like his sword, which grows in size. He starts to scream as if he were a character from a cartoon where the protagonist has blonde hair and a ponytail. His energy was filling the entire place. Completely charged, he is preparing to unsheath his sword. Lang Yu continues to look at him, unimpressed, while the bald man assumes an offensive and threatening stance. From above, he observes his victims. The old man warns that he is the best swordsman in the kingdom and that she has no chance, but they need to stop him to avoid problems for the princess. Not to mention that she will only discover her chances if she tries. He is a master challenger, while she is just a master, and indeed she was at that level. But after the lewd marking, her power increased. The marking from her master heats up on her forehead whenever he also becomes stronger. This made her remember Wen Chang and the jealousy she felt at that moment. She wants to know how strong her master really is, but she also wants to know how far she can go and already desired an opportunity. It is time for her to try as well, to get a sense of how strong her master is. Before the bald man, she emanates her energy too. Then he draws his sword before her. Pointing it upwards, several beams of energy head towards Lang Yu, and without any difficulty she dodges all of them as if it were just child's play. The more he attacks her, the more she continues to evade effortlessly. But she managed to get closer to the bald man. Furious about that, he delivers a direct blow. The cut flies through the air and is very close to her. However, her characteristic red energy soon envelops her completely. Then he realized that what he had done was ineffective. Lang Yu remains intact and uninjured, which only makes him even angrier, delivering even more attacks, destroying the place. Being agile, she managed to position herself behind him. However, being experienced, he was already ready to cut her. Impatient with the continuation of the battle, he wants to end it quickly, launching a precise attack at Lang Yu. This made the old man panic, as she had been hit directly. Gradually, the mask covering her face begins to break. Then, she sighs in relief after that. Intrigued, the bald man wonders if she is excited about the fight, to which she replies that she is having a lot of fun. It had been a long time since she had exerted herself so much, and that made her feel very good. After finishing her sentence, she began to laugh, as if she felt the greatest joy in days. This only made the bald man more furious, who, attacking, ordered her to shut up. Once again, he launches a powerful attack towards her. On the ground, the old man had to create a barrier to protect himself. However, soon the protection broke, while the bald man's energy obliterated everything around. Using his remaining eye, he looks up in fear. There was only a bright red glow, as if it were a star. In front of that, the bald man observes that unusual formation. The red glow became increasingly intense, until energy blades began to manifest, and one of them ended up touching him. His eyes widened at that. He felt something painful in his body. There is blood on his chest. This made him grip his sword in defense, as he had been cut. Meanwhile, Lang Yu's energy continues to grow stronger. The mark on her forehead is now quite noticeable, while behind her, an energy formation emerges as if it were a constellation. Seeing that, he cannot believe what he sees. On her forehead, there is a blood heraldry of the ancients. Only the 7 originals with their complete genetic chain and the royal family have blood heraldry. She was not supposed to have one. Now properly frightened, he asked who the hell she is. Below, the old one-eyed man says that blood domination is like a beast encountering a herbivore, and he can barely breathe. Smiling, Lang Yu says that what she has resembles something legendary. Now it remains to be seen if with that she can end the bald man's life. The most powerful swordsman in the Sakura kingdom, Tokuran, the bald man. With that, her fighting power doubled. Now they are on the same level. Aware of the risk, he prepares once again to attack. He can no longer allow the fight to continue without an end. She likes men who speak harshly like him, and wants to know if the sword is the same way. As hard as his words, the force is overwhelming and his sword has cracked. The blood heraldry is strong, but he is no longer impressed, for he believes she will be unable to stand on equal footing with him. Excited, she says she can no longer hold back with him. Her energy had not only increased, she is now flexible and can even vary in length. Skillfully, he defends himself with his sword against the attacks. Lang Yu is happy about this. The skill granted by her master is truly very useful. Oppressing the bald man, she wonders if she would be able to make more than one ring. If she had a few more, that would be too easy, while the swordsman prepares to counterattack. But he needs to defend against that, while she smiles thinking about what she could do. His sword could not withstand such pressure, and ended up breaking completely. She asked him to bow, for even with the broken sword, she would not despise him. His hands trembled with rage. Stabbing swords into his body, he said that the most powerful warrior of Sakura would not lose. The one-eyed man knows that this is a self-destruct technique. He intends to blow everything up. Lang Yu also realized that it is no longer as she expected. The combat has pushed her to her limit. The bald man smiles like a psychopath and hopes the king remembers his loyalty. As he prepares to explode, an energy surges deeper within. He realizes that something is happening. That is the king's reanimation technique. The king is in danger, which distracts him, worried about what might have happened. He shouted for the king, completely concerned, but one of those tentacles pierced his flesh, pulling him toward the palace. While he screams in pain, As his body is crushed, he does not understand how this could be happening to him, a loyal general. This made him plead for mercy. While on the ground, several people try to flee from it. The one-eyed man knows that this is indeed from the king and that he is possibly under attack. For this, he must be injured, which makes him think about what he should be fighting to have to recharge in that way. Lang Yu sweats coldly, for she is truly exhausted. She took the opportunity to lie down on Wang's lap. Turning to her, the old man asks if she knows anything else, and where the princess is. She smiles, thinking about who the king might be fighting. Soon, a figure full of tails and a white body is seen. Then the old man realizes that it is the princess. She is using the power of the QB to confront the king. But despite everything, she is very happy, for she will finally kill her father and take revenge for what he has done. The beast full of tentacles prepares to launch an attack with its mouth, but the princess is not impressed at all. 3 hours earlier, Lang Yu was asking her what she would like to do, for she had released 8 tails and should not die in vain. All she wanted was to confront her father about everything he had done. But she already knows the outcome. What she desires is not the answer, but rather his confession. She wants him to regret and say that he loved her mother and still loves her, but Kiyohime says that is not it. For what he did, she cannot forgive him. There is only hatred in her heart now. But Lang Yu says that she has a soft heart and is easily deceived. However, if she insists on seeing him face to face, she must discover what she wants for herself. She should fulfill her last wish and meet him, but if she dies, she should at least let go of her past. Kiyohime asks what she means by that, but Lang Yu says she will soon know. They will save Haneda, but they need her to hold the king, so Kiyohime asks her to thank Wang for what he did to her, as he hurt her unintentionally. Smiling, Lang Yu says that she really does not remember anything. After this conversation, it was time for them to go. So she went to her father's palace. Upon arriving, she slowly opened the doors. She saw her father in front of a cherry blossom tree, announcing that he had returned. He looked at her with a cold expression. The two now had the chance to talk. His wife liked cherry blossoms, and he planted them all over the palace. She was kind, and their last cherry blossom is the daughter they had. Now she had awakened the Kyubi. He had felt that energy earlier, and congratulated her. Approaching her, he said he wanted to see her better, asking her to trust him, as she did when she was little. She said she missed him, and he replied the same. Her transformation is still incomplete. Once it is finished, the Kyubi becomes an immortal battle beast, but without control over itself. He has waited for this day since she was born, and then Kiyohime realized what was happening. Attacking her, he begged for forgiveness as the royal blood is too diluted. Now he needed to find the last Kyubi and consume it. Only then would he become purer and be on equal footing with the nobles of other kingdoms. Then she said that for this, he killed her mother's family and now wants to sacrifice her. Everything he did was to consume her, or to use her as a pawn to become the spark of war. He only thought of power and manipulated her all this time. He does not deserve to be her father. Manifesting the power of the Kyubi, she destroyed the snakes that bound her. Witnessing her power, he rejoiced, confident that by eating her, he would become even more powerful. He sent the Shikigami towards his daughter to devour her. They approached her violently. All she wanted from him was just a confession. Now, she is willing to make them die together. The beast summoned by her father roars, but using her tails, she defends herself from the incoming attacks. Thus, she used the clone technique popularized in the show of the blonde protagonist in an orange jacket. The energy beasts hissed. They were unable to overpower the power of the 9 tails. The king watched this and recognized that her power is fascinating. Kiyohime was already behind him, ready to settle the matter. She just wanted the degenerate to die once and for all. The king is confident, as he has 3 Shikigami, and he only showed her 2. While protecting himself, he wants to know if she is not curious about where the 3rd one is. Gradually, he begins to emerge from a place, revealing his hideous face as he steps out of the magic circle. Flames begin to pour from his mouth. They attack the Kyubi, who tries to defend herself. Kiyohime's situation had become a bit more complicated. This makes her talk to her clones, asking them to focus on Shutendoji. Immediately, they go to him to do what the original said. His eyes shine when they focus on the princess, and his body begins to emerge from that magic circle. With a precise attack, he managed to hit the Kyubi. This made her writhe in agony, as the impact was strong. The immense beast, very similar to the ocular summoning from a certain show, continues the beating session. There are no more clones available, and her father wants to know what she will do now. If there are no more tricks, it is time for her to become food for the Shikigami. Furious, she asks the Kyubi to unleash all her power. Her body shines intensely as the 9th tail begins to appear. Now her body is completely transformed. This is the true Kyubi Kitsune. Her personality changes, and she says she loves the raw nature of humans, saying that what the king's blood lacks is humanity. The depraved one looks at her and becomes intoxicated by her beauty. Kyubi walks through the sky as red petals begin to fall. But soon the king realizes that those are not flower petals. It is blood falling from the sky. The Shikigami had been beaten. This makes the king happy, as the strongest of the Shikigami is his daughter, whom he wants to eat. Looking at him, she says he is weak, and that even so, he wants to eat her. Then he tells her that she should not underestimate him. He only wanted to gauge the strength of Kyubi. Now it is time to show her how truly strong he is. Releasing immense power, he says she does not have what he has. She widened her eyes at that. That is the blood heraldry that only those of the royal family possess. Even though she is strong, that Kyubi power does not belong to her. Only the blood circle is absolute. Whoever possesses it has the power of domination. Now it is time for her to surrender and accept becoming a snack for her father. In that way, he believes he is invincible. He then unleashed all the power of his blood circle. A tentacle emerges from the creature, trying to absorb the Kyubi, but she simply vanished. It was a shadow clone. Kiyohime realized that he is indeed strong but lacks control and will soon collapse. She just needs to wait. Now it is up to him to find her. Time is running out, which left the king completely furious. Out of control, he just wants her to die now. In his fury, he began to attack his own servants, but he was intentionally devouring them to increase his own power. Kiyohime says he is pathetic and that for everything he has done so far he should die. Once again, she used her clones, determined to finish him off before he becomes even stronger. Using her tails as a weapon, she began to strike him with the bitterness of a child who did not have a good father. In response, the beast he had become felt the heavy barrage of blows. The old man, observing everything, said that she had hit him in the vital points, and that this is the complete Kyubi Kitsune. It is a stunning image. He only wished Matsuko were seeing it. However, she was soon struck as well. The old man knows what that purple glow is. Blood flows from Kiyohime's mouth. She had injured herself. The king smiles after this, as he claims to have no weak points. He had eaten enough servants, and now her strength is no match for him. He destroyed half the city, but soon the poor will multiply. With her captured, it was time to taste the delicacy. Almost unconscious, Kiyohime does not want to let this happen. Determined to prevent this, she began the self-destruction process. She turned into several petals and disappeared from the king's hands, which made him furious. He thought he had lost his chance to ascend, and soon began to be attacked once again. Throughout the city, people continue trying to flee from his attack. Mad with rage, he is determined to devour everyone, for he is the king of that place. On the ground, the old man is prostrated, saddened. He cannot believe that the princess has left in such a way. Lang Yu is low on energy and wants to know what they could do. One of the king's hands is almost reaching them to devour them. Completely resigned, the old man wishes to die alongside the princess. In Wang's lap, she says that now it is up to her master, who remains unconscious from having exerted himself greatly. Inside his inner space, a petal begins to glow, until it starts changing shape, becoming a woman. It is Kiyohime who has appeared inside. The spirit of Sakura that he gave to him also contained a portion of her spirit. Now she is in Wang's inner space. Inside, she noticed there was a huge palace, and sitting on a throne is someone she believes to be Lang Yu's dependent, but she realized that his aura is too intense. It cannot be a mere dependent. He is stronger than her. However, she soon became frightened, as the kitsune had gone out of control. Meanwhile, Wang had approached her, and the kitsune that was there completely disappeared. Indeed, he is a monster, which made her scared. He says that this last spirit of hers will not last long, and that people are suffering for her outside. Fearful to respond, she thinks that in the end, there is nothing she can do. Wang wants to propose a deal, since he needs her strength. A bit more interested, she wants to know what she can do for him. His proposal is that she become his dependent. This immediately embarrassed her. However, if it were this way, she would be able to continue living. With that, she could save innocence. Not responding yet, Wang urges her, wanting to know if the girl has an answer. Her face is flushed, and she is sweating cold, until she bows before him, accepting to become his dependent. Thus, he points one of his fingers to her forehead. Immediately, a mark appears, the same one that his dependents possess. The old man has already given up and has despaired, until a pink glow begins to emanate from Wang's body. Cherry blossom petals appear everywhere, and they begin to move intensely. The king was incredulous at this. Kiyohime had appeared once again. This is definitely impressive, and he is surprised that she is alive. Even so, she is nothing against his blood circle. Without further words, Kyubi advances toward the king. This time, she begins to mercilessly beat him. In the blink of an eye, she started and finished a painful session of beating. The old man, who minutes ago was depressed, now cheers as if he did not know what sadness is. This attack left the king much weaker. However, he continues devouring people to restore himself, believing that he will soon return to his full strength. Seeing this, the old man falls back into depression, saying that everyone will die and become the king's food. He believes they cannot kill him because of his blood circle, so Kiyohime says that if that is the case, she will need to eat him. As he is truly egocentric, he can only laugh at her comment, until a fox actually began to devour him. This unexpected outcome startled him, and if he had underwear, it would be heavy now. Kiyohime is much more powerful now. The king says that the challenger's blood circle will only choose the noblest host, and she has no chances. He believes that having 3 Shikigami, he is at an advantage, since she only has 1, but Kiyohime is dedicated. Desperate, he realized that the blood circle had chosen her. Now she is completely devastating. Once again, the old man changes his mood, abandoning depression upon realizing that she absorbed the king's circle of blood. The Shikigamis bow before her, wishing long life to the queen. This made the king even more desperate, as he had nothing left. Finally, everything was over. While she thinks that her master's power is far superior to her father's, it remains to be seen who he truly is. Resigned, the king says he will not lose. But all he managed to achieve was another massage session. His body explodes in the air after that. Several cherry blossom petals float towards him. The living citizens realize that the princess has emerged victorious, having defeated one of the 7 kings. Things were returning to normal now. The princess was returning power to the people. In the face of this act of kindness, they bow before her as well. The old man realizes that she has done the impossible, gathering the 4 Shikigamis. She hovers in the air with them around her, while using the power of the Kyuubi. Completely emotional, the old man believes that Matsuko can finally rest in peace. She continues hovering over the city, while on the ground the people wish long life to the queen, repeating in unison the same words, while she stands atop the roof. With Tokuran dead, she orders one of the servants to immediately suspend the attack on the Eastern Kingdom. Immediately they use the communication crystal. The message is relayed to the general, instructing the troops to halt their advance. He says he has no queen and only takes orders from the king. Then the messenger tells him that the king has died and his daughter has inherited his powers. This leaves him outraged, and he wants to die alongside his king, disconnecting the message immediately. Kiyohime ordered messengers to go to the Eastern Kingdom to propose a truce, as she would resolve the border situation. They did as she commanded. The messenger will arrive by dawn the next day. Meanwhile, Wang remains unconscious. Inside his inner space, things are happening. Upon opening his eyes, he realizes what is in front of him, not even knowing where he is. Now they are no longer dressed, and their bodies are close in a very intimate way. The sensuality happens. It is consummated. The army is gathered at the eastern border. Furious, the Bald Squad is ready to launch a grand attack, condensing their energy to strike at their protective barrier, which was strong enough to begin cracking, to the despair of those on the defense. The attack continues mercilessly, and a slick-looking man observes everything. That technique used in unison by an army of challengers has the force of a nuclear bomb. The Sakura Kingdom initiated the attack. Soon the other 5 kingdoms will continue the siege, and these armies will seize the opportunity to claim vast territory. Even so, the elderly man does not give up, and even if he dies, he will do everything to defend his emperor. Meanwhile, important figures on the battlefield observe everything. The assassin smiles at this, as she wants to see how long they can hold out. The old man does his best to continue resisting, until a great explosion occurs, throwing him far away. The attack on the barrier was intercepted, causing that huge shock. He even thinks it was the emperor who did this. The land is devastated, and the Bald army has been separated, making them wonder who did that. Everyone is surprised by the strength of the one who blocked the Bald Squad's attack, as this person must definitely be very strong. There stands a masked man, very similar to Wang. Of all possible outcomes, this is the most absurd for those who witnessed the scene. The old man realized immediately that this is Lang Yu's dependent. He felt superpowers growing within him, and with him is Kyuubi Kitsune. The bespectacled man recognizes the princess of the Sakura Kingdom, and has no idea how she could still be alive. She rises in the sky and the general recognizes her, but also thought the princess was dead. This is a surprise for everyone, as the princess's aura is incredibly powerful. On the wall, the elderly man is still stuck in the thought that a dependent should not have all this power. She says that the king has perished and that she is the queen now, ordering the Bald Squad to return, but the general says he only serves the king. They will be with him until death and will not change their alignment. From above, she watches them as if they were ants. Since the situation is this way, she will let them demonstrate their loyalty. Using her power, she begins to make their bodies levitate. The bald monk was caught in the crossfire and cannot move. This happened with the dandy, who doesn't understand how the Sakura Kingdom has someone so powerful. Behind her, the Shikigami roars furiously, releasing arrows from its mouth. These arrows begin to slaughter all those who wish to die with the king. This left the observers tremendously frightened, while the queen declares that the war is over. Now she will propose a pact of friendship between the kingdoms. Hearing this, the old man understood nothing at all. The dandy criticizes her, saying it was her kingdom that started the war and now ended it before it even began. Supporting this, the monk states that this matter does not concern her. The assassin threatens her, saying that withdrawing from the war will make Sakura their target. Full of confidence, she asks if they are really threatening her kingdom, as they must think they have no big players there.